Oh yeah, we are live. What is going on, everybody? Randall Thor 19 here for the Xbox 2. This is our post E3 show, and with me, as always, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. Jez, how you feeling, man? How's E3 treating you?
Oh, I'm exhausted. I didn't even go to E3, but man, we did. We wrote almost 200 articles about E3 and Windows Central since it kicked off. So, been very busy indeed. But man, what a show! What a show! I think that was like we talked in the last podcast about like those moments like when we were shocked and stuff, and I talked about Killer Instinct and the nostalgia bomb, Xbox backwards compatibility. Didn't expect that. This year there was at least 3 or 4 moments where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this. So it was a pretty good show. I was pretty pleased with it.
Imagine if you were there in the crowd, like normally you would
Uh,
be.
yeah, no.
Now, do you wish you would have went now? Do you wish that you would have made the journey?
Nope, because I had family reasons not to go, and I made the
Ah.
right decision. But I was gutted that I wasn't there. Hopefully, I'll be there next year, and I'll definitely be at Gamescom to play all those games that I didn't get a chance to play. But I think that's another thing about this year's E3. So many games to look forward to that look quality, or at the very least, intriguing.
Yes.
Usually, there's only like 3 or 4 for me, but this year it was like, my God, so many really compelling games coming, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, tons. I mean, Microsoft's show was jam packed. Sony's show had showed quite a lot of. See, I called Sony's show like a tale of two press conferences, but their shows showed some pretty good multiplats as well. Then you had like EA's and Bethesda's showing off some stuff. There are some quality games coming in the next couple years. Gaming is looking better than it's ever been, wouldn't you say, Jazz? Are you? I mean, the
I would
excitement
say,
level for me it's high. There's some really cool looking games coming out. And Show and W, thanks for the super chat. He says props to Jez for not leaking things that he knew. There you go. You're getting
I
props
didn't
for
know.
not leaking.
I honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I didn't like. The big hits like Compulsion, Ninja Theory. I mean, obviously we knew about the initiative because it leaked in those job listings, and we knew about Playground Games because it leaked in the audit papers and stuff like that. But I didn't know, half of it, And some of the stuff I did know, I didn't fully believe. I didn't fully believe the Gears Tactics thing. Like, I didn't fully believe that. I thought that was like too good to be true. Because I tweeted about that like months ago. Like, because I was playing XCOM and I just thought, man, the Gears of War worked pretty well with this game. I didn't know. I actually did not know or have any inkling. I think, and then like obviously we heard rumors about this Gears Tactics thing, and I was just like, nah, that's like my dream game.
I
I
know.
know people aren't that excited for it, like because
Well,
it's a bit of a niche genre, but
honestly,
that's my dream game.
they didn't really show anything about it. It was like 10 seconds of footage, and it was like, all right, Gears 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did
Um,
talk to a couple of people about Gears Tactics, and they did basically say XCOM is our model for this
Well,
game.
I mean, it looked clearly like this. So we got a really huge show planned for everybody. Obviously, we're going to be delving deep into Xbox's E3 and everything they announced. We're going to talk about how the five new studios really shapes the future of Xbox first party going forward. So we're going to talk really in depth about a lot of that stuff. We're also going to talk about the next gen Xbox. Not only did Phil tease it at the end of the show, uh, articles came out. It was basically called Project Scarlet. Phil's talked about it today on Giant Bomb, so clearly it's a thing. We're going to talk about all that. There's so much else. Like we're going to talk about EA's show because Jez is an Anthem fanboy. We're going to talk about Bethesda. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and we're just
I
going to delve.
completely forgot about Bethesda, like
I know.
Doom and Rage, and God, man,
Yeah.
there's so much on the horizon. It's a great time to be a gamer. I'm feeling more positive towards gaming right now than maybe ever since I started this job.
Yeah, so shout out to new sponsor for the channel. Thank you, Leandro Prell. Thank you for the sponsor. Really means a lot. Um, But before we get into all the heavy topics, we're going to talk about what we played. And I have a feeling this is going to be a short one because what I've been playing is E3 coverage. I haven't really played anything new. So it's going to be up for Jez. Jez, have you actually been playing games, or have you just been, like me, consuming as much E3 media as you can?
Well, I have been playing games actually because I'm in the UK and less girlfriend time and more gaming time, I guess. I have been playing. I've been frantically trying to finish my review of Vampire because I owe that game a review. They gave me a review copy, so I need to get that out. I'm still really enjoying it. It's a flawed game. There are flaws, but I think if you like that kind of game, like single player RPG-esque, atmospheric, dark story, branching narrative, I think you'll enjoy it. I think even though it's kind of rough, I'm sure they're going to patch that up at some point, but I really enjoy it. Other than that, I've been playing Jurassic World Evolution. Played that a little bit because I love my simulators. Like Jurassic World Evolution is basically theme park with dinosaurs. You build a Jurassic World park, and you have to choose the dinosaurs, grow them, feed them, and all that sort of stuff. And
the one question I was talking to my buddy last night, and he didn't really know. Is Jurassic World Evolution basically Zoo Tycoon?
I haven't gotten that far into it yet, but it seems to be more in depth than Zoo Tycoon, at least at first glance. I haven't played it that much yet because I haven't had time, but at first, I mean, you can't really. Well, it's hard for me to compare because I haven't played Zoo Tycoon that much either. But you've got like more of a top-down view in Jurassic World Evolution. It seems more like a classic sort of park simulator. But I'll play that more and get back to you on that next week. I've also been playing Surviving Mars again, another simulator, because they updated it with new DLC this week. There's new sort of story mysteries, they call them, in the game, which makes things, adds modifiers to your game and adds like little quests and stuff like that. They've also added tons and tons of features for free that I didn't know about. Like you can link domes together now, so like your colonists don't have to spacewalk to go from dome to dome and stuff like that. Those are little quality of life improvements. What else have we been playing? I think that's pretty much everything I've been playing recently.
I mean, I guess what I've been playing, it's not so much a game, but I've been trying to learn Premiere Pro.
All right.
I've actually switched over from Windows Live Movie Maker. My last 3 or 4 videos have been with Premiere Pro. And maybe some of you have noticed this. I'm trying to get feedback on it a little bit. Is I started using background music to my videos. I think maybe the volume for it's a little bit high. So I don't know. Hopefully people like the music, because I'm probably going to continue to do it because I feel like it adds some nice ambiance to the...
It's weird. Some people like it and some people don't, because we've been experimenting with that on Windows Central too. Like A/B testing, like one video with music, one video without. Some people like it, some people don't. It'd be cool if YouTube could give you a way to turn it off and on.
Right. So I've been experimenting with that. Some people, like you said, really like, hey, love the music, keep it up, and then some people like hate the music, turn it off, and it's like, okay, I probably just need to turn down the volume so it's a little bit not as loud. But I mean, it's all new to me. Like clearly, like I don't know how to use Premiere Pro, so I'm trying to learn that, and I don't know about like mixing audio and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to evolve. I don't want to be the same, so I'm trying to get better at doing YouTube, so to speak. So all the like production stuff and the music stuff is it's just me experimenting. So hopefully people like it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like E3 comes around for me, and I just sit and I just read as many articles and watch as many videos as I can. What I really like doing, and I think I've read everybody's take on Cyberpunk 2077 that went and saw that demo.
All right. People seem to like it.
Dude, there was a backlash when it was originally announced as an FPS, right?
First person.
So everyone's like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's not third person like Witcher? right? And then the press, everybody got to go see a 50-minute demo, and everybody comes out of that blown, like out of their mind. Like they're just like,
Can I
the
can I
greatest thing I've
interrupt
ever
you?
seen. What?
Can I interrupt you? I really like your gamer fanboy voice that you use
Oh,
when paraphrasing a backlash. That is my favorite run voice. Can do it? Can you do it on command?
I don't know. I usually got to think about it before I get into the to that. But yeah.
But yeah, like people seem to love it. I did see the backlash too, like you say, but I haven't read that many previews on it myself. Like I tend to limit when I know that I'm probably going to be reviewing a game. I tend to limit my reading of that stuff so it doesn't color my own opinions to some degree, and also just because I'm lazy. But the consensus, I think it's fair to say the consensus is pretty positive. I don't know.
Right.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
I mean,
CD Projekt Red are wizards, man. So I got high hopes for that game.
so yeah, I haven't really played anything. Just been consuming E3. I mean, I sometimes I'll hop on for PUBG for a little bit for a couple matches, but other than that, I think the only other thing I played is Onrush, which
Onrush.
yeah, I watch. I really like Onrush. I really, really do.
I really, really want to give that a go because, like, I'm not a huge fan of racing games, but that sounds like a racing game I might be able to enjoy.
Dude, it is a lot of fun, and I don't think it's selling very well. But my God, like they really have something here. It's a racing game, but it's really more of a car combat, team combat game. It's really like Overwatch. It's Overwatch for racers, and because you have all the different classes with the cars that do the different abilities, and it's 6v6,
Is
and
that
all the
waifus?
no waifus in this one,
How
unfortunately.
dare you compare it to Overwatch?
I know, but I'm just saying it's a different brand of racer. You know what I mean? It's not Forza Horizon or GT Sport or Dirt or any of those other games. It's very unique.
Yeah. New IP is hard, like even I guess for racing games and stuff. But
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna look into it and maybe pick it up. Even though I don't like racing games that much, it does like the combat stuff, and I do like car combat games. So I'm gonna look into that, man. You've sold me, pal. You've sold me.
All right. So I feel like what. Let's start off with a topic, and then we'll go into all the E3 conferences. And this topic is going to be pretty damn spicy, and it's about
Spicy.
Fortnite and crossplay.
Spicy.
So let's turn the podcast up a notch here. Sony is in a lot of hot water. It's unusual for the PlayStation and Sony to be the target of the media in a bad way. Normally, Sony is kind of painted in a good light. I mean, they are the market leader. They do
media bias.
They do have a ton of great exclusives, right? So normally when the media talks about Sony, it's usually maybe not necessarily with glowing praise, but of high regard. Fortnite came out for the Switch, had 2 million downloads in the first 24 hours. And people were disappointed that if they had linked their PlayStation, or if they had anytime logged into the PlayStation, they wouldn't be able to actually access their account on the Switch. So they would have to make a new account. And people were upset, right? People were understandably upset. But obviously, we knew it would be something that would happen because Sony doesn't want to play nice with others. And why should they? They are the market leader after all. They don't need to bend to the whims of anybody. But then suddenly something happened. You have really pro PlayStation people out there like Greg Miller, like Boogie, a ton of other people basically condemn Sony for this. Then you have the large gaming media outlets like IGN, Polygon. They start attacking Sony, and then it even trickles into the mainstream. You got places like the BBC and other like that really getting on Sony for this. And all Sony's response was, hey, we got 80 million users. We're trying to make it better for them. Shut the fuck up, basically, for the most part.
What was their actual response? Because they did respond. I didn't see their response because I was out getting drunk.
Okay, hold on. Well, as I search for their response, why don't you start talking about what you think about this whole situation? Because I'll find it.
Well, it's funny because I actually found myself defending Sony.
All right, I found it. You ready? Here's Sony's response. We're always open to hearing what the PlayStation community is interested in to enhance their gaming experience. Fortnite is already a huge hit with PlayStation fans, offering a true free-to-play experience. You see that shot at Microsoft? A true free-to-play experience. So gamers can jump in and play online. With 79 million PlayStation 4 sold around the world and more than 80 million monthly active users on PlayStation Network, we built a huge community of gamers who can play together on Fortnite and all online titles. We also offer Fortnite crossplay support with PC, Mac, iOS, and Android devices, expanding the opportunity for Fortnite fans on PS4 to play with even more gamers on their platforms. So basically, they took a huge shot at Microsoft, and then they said, and then they made the go mention just how awesome they are by how many systems they've sold. So basically saying, suck it, we'll do what we want.
That is some balls, man. I'm telling you. That is hubris. That's the kind of hubris. I don't know. I remember this hubris. Do you remember this hubris?
I do. I recall this hubris once before, back when Sony said that that their fans would buy the PlayStation 3 no matter the price, even if it came with bricks. And then Microsoft back in 2013, when they were like, everyone's going to buy the Kinect with bundled into the system, and people are going to love Skype and TV and all that stuff. Yeah, I've seen it twice before.
Yeah. So hubris comes before the fall. That's what they say, and I'm by no means saying that Sony are going to fall over this, and they're quite right in saying that they are huge market leader and all this sort of stuff. And you know, it's funny. You know, I found myself defending Sony earlier because, you know, the media, they love their outrage clicks, they love the outrage clickbait and stuff. And I saw one media outlet saying that Sony's share price was hit by the Fortnite fiasco, when in reality it was actually a Fed interest rate hike and all Asian firms were hit. It's like, I just remember this sort of outrage from 2013 over the whole Xbox thing, and people are, you know, and yeah, there were things that you could legitimately criticize Xbox for, but there was still loads of clickbait, loads of hate, loads of outrage clicks, everyone jumping in on this bandwagon, hate, let's get them clicks, and it's weird because Sony's on that foot now. It's like this E3 went in completely the opposite direction to what I expected it would go. Like somehow Microsoft is now at least for this week, Microsoft's the darling. Everyone's like Forbes praising Microsoft, and then you've got everyone slamming Sony. It's almost like the perfect storm for Microsoft, because everyone's got a reason to cheer Microsoft and be excited about their investments that they announced, and meanwhile there's a reason to flame Sony, and you know, everyone loves to hate, you know.
Yep. Shout out to Well, I want to shout out Dan Rodriguez for the super chat. He said, wanted to see how super chat worked. Love the show. Thanks for the support, buddy.
Thanks, pal. But, you know, I don't know how I feel about it. First of all, I think the issue here is less to do with crossplay, because, again, it's a bad business decision for Sony. Why would Sony allow crossplay with Xbox and lose the purchase argument that we've talked about?
We all totally get the business aspect of it. I mean, the excuse they used last year was that they can't protect kids, which we all knew was hogwash.
But the real problem here, and I think you tweeted about this, the real issue is that while on other platforms people are allowed to use their progress across any device, whereas Sony is sort of claiming ownership of that progress in Epic Games' game, which maybe that's fair enough. Maybe that's part of their service agreement. I don't know. You know, maybe that's what Epic Games signed up for. Maybe Epic Games signed up for that. I don't know. But that's really where the outrage comes from, is the sense that you don't own that stuff. Like, everyone else is allowed to roam with their content no matter what platform they're on, but Sony says, no, you don't own that stuff, we own that stuff, and you're going to play where we say you can play. And that's where the anger is coming from.
I've seen some people saying this is an Epic issue, that it's a problem with how their account stuff is structured, but if that was truly the case, I think Sony would say something like that. Like, this is something that's out of their hands and nothing that they can do about it.
I've seen another theory that that actually it's also one of the problems could be that Sony's network infrastructure doesn't support it, maybe at some sort of database level, and for Sony to like make it work reliably, they would have to change some of their systems, which is also a possibility. And but it just goes to show that if Microsoft and Nintendo Switch keep pushing this crossplay narrative and PC and stuff like that, Sony sort of put them. If it is a technical issue, Sony sort of put themselves in a position where they can't be part of that crossplay revolution, which Microsoft calls it the intelligent edge. The intelligent edge is just where all your devices live, no matter what device you want to use. Microsoft services will be there, and powered by the intelligent cloud. And Amazon thinks this way too. No matter what device you use, Amazon services will be there. Blah blah blah. And that's how cloud companies are going to operate. Sony isn't a cloud company. It operates almost exclusively on the intelligent edge, and
Right.
And they can either embrace that future or ignore it. And maybe Sony's in the right here. Maybe Sony thinks it's not a big deal, and maybe it isn't a big deal. Maybe crossplay isn't a big deal, and it's not going to be, the be all and end all of the future for PlayStation. And maybe they can just keep their fans locked in. I mean, it works for Apple pretty much. Apple just keeps people locked into their ecosystem, and there's not much. You can't use Final Cut Pro on a Windows computer, but Apple did just put iTunes on the Microsoft Store, and they do have Apple Music on Android. So.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I just find it interesting that Sony's legitimately getting like shit for this. You have big PlayStation fans with huge presences on social media, like trying to change their mind about it. Will that help? Probably not. But of course, I can't say that Sony's anti-consumer for doing this, because Microsoft is anti-consumer in their own way. Even though Microsoft allows crossplay and all that stuff, they do charge you to play free-to-play online games. And I thought Sony's press release where they say truly free-to-play was a nice shot at Microsoft. So if you're going to criticize a company for not being consumer-friendly or anti-consumer, and then you see the same thing for Microsoft, yes, they allow crossplay and all that stuff, but then again, they also require you to have Xbox Live Gold to play free-to-play, and that is something we've talked about before. I think needs to be rectified like now. I think Microsoft should waive that, and that a free-to-play game should be free-to-play and not hide behind the $60 barrier of Xbox Live. I don't think
I agree. I mean, I agree. And it's not like Microsoft won't make the money on the V-Bucks anyway. So I think they should definitely open that up.
Yeah. So I think will they I don't know. But it's just like, you can't say one's like, oh, you're so anti-consumer, when Microsoft also has its own kind of problem with that. And who knows, they did change. Remember, before you used to have to pay Xbox Live Gold to watch Netflix. And eventually they got rid of that because more people were watching Netflix on the Wii U and PlayStation, and it just made sense. So it just makes sense for a free to play game to be truly free to play.
Yes.
Shout out to Brian Roscoe for the super chat. Appreciate the support. So that's it about this Fortnite story. We'll see if it goes any further than that. I really don't think Sony's going to back down. You predicted, Jez, that they would actually back down and do something with Switch, but I don't think they're going to do anything with anybody.
Well, I predicted that they would open it up to Switch for non-Xbox, but because they're not in direct. Well, no, they're not. Via's dead. They're not in direct competition with. They're not in direct competition with the Switch, so it's a different use case. So I thought maybe they'd open it up to the Switch, and that's why Microsoft opens it up to the Switch so much as well. I mean, it's for Microsoft. Microsoft's thinking is, well, Switch is for portability, and Fortnite obviously plays better on an Xbox than it does on the Switch, but you can't take your Xbox on the bus unless you're crazy. So I mean, for Microsoft, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to have that on different platforms. And I think from a business perspective, unless Sony is thinking about making a successor to the Vita or something, they ain't in direct competition with the Switch. So I don't know why they wouldn't do it. It just seems spiteful at that point. Yeah. But I'm sure there is I'm sure Sony isn't sitting there in a boardroom thinking, yeah, how can we screw over those stupid gamers? They've probably done studies into this sort of stuff and just decided it doesn't fit their business model for whatever reason. And
yeah,
who knows what'll happen. I don't.
I saw a question in chat. Someone asked if you needed gold. Yeah, Cypherman says, so I still have to pay for something in order to play a free-to-play game on PS4. No. So free-to-play games on PS4 are just that. You don't need PSN Plus, because that's how I played a few multiplayer games. And then Solar Waves Xfinity wants to know if Smite and Path to Exile on Xbox One, if he needs to have gold to play those games. And yes, you do. You do need you do need gold to play Smite and Path of Exile. Any sort of multiplayer game on Xbox, even if it's free, requires you to have gold. And I would love for Microsoft to remove that, because I think it's a terrible, because those games aren't free to play at that point. Yeah, they may be able to free download, but if you're an Xbox Live Silver member, you can't play those games.
Yeah.
It's it's not very good. But so let's get into E3, Jez. Me and you had a different reaction to EA's press conference. We're gonna go and we're gonna start off with E3, and then we'll get to Xbox, and then the whole entire show after that will literally be about Xbox, pretty much. I thought EA's show was pathetic and terrible. I thought it was boring in every way imaginable. And Anthem, to me, was Anthem had a very, very mediocre showing. Now, what is your retort to all that?
I mean, well, first of all, I think maybe we had a different reaction because I was working during watching it. So when they were doing their stupid, influencers bit and the stupid mobile gaming bit with the shoutcasting, I was writing. So like when I turned back to watch, there was something interesting on again. So I imagine if you were trying to sit there through Command and Conquer Rivals or whatever it was called, you probably would have been pretty bored.
No, it's not even really that. It's like the Battlefield 5 stuff. They didn't show any gameplay. They didn't show off the campaign, right? It was just two dudes up on stage with stilted dialogue. While the destruction looked great, going through the buildings with the tanks, you didn't really see much about it. Now, it's great that they have no loot boxes and no premium passes, but it's kind of like EA cheering themselves on for a problem they created in the first place. The whole backlash on loot boxes was because of them. And here they are, like, we got no loot boxes and premium passes. Aren't you happy, right?
It's annoying.
Let me get a shout out to Brad first. He says, thing that Sony does that pisses me off is they show off the games that may be years off. Notice how 80% of their reveals had no release date. Well, I don't know. I mean, Crackdown 3 is still not out yet, and that came out and revealed in 2014. Both these companies tend to reveal games a little bit too early. I don't necessarily think that's a Sony problem specifically. But
when are we getting Final Fantasy 7?
Yeah,
like 2040 if we're lucky.
Yeah. And then the way they announced Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Jazz, I thought was just cringy, man.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like they threw that in at the last minute.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, what you working on? Oh, playing it. We're working on a Star Wars game. Oh, what's it called? Like, and this was a show primed with concept footage and concept art. Both Battlefield 5 and specifically Anthem showed all this concept art. And yet you couldn't show me concept art for a freaking Star Wars game that's coming out next year, or a little bit of a teaser. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, oh my god. Year? Yeah, they said holiday 2019.
Oh wow.
And then they got up and they took the stage and talked about Battlefield 2 and basically said, "We're sorry." Yeah, you should be. You should be. And you know what? I'm upset.
Okay, hang on. So now we've got apathetic presenter voice. We've got angry. We've got apologetic EA executive voice, and we've got fanboy voice. Those are Rand's personalities. I like them.
But okay, so they get out there and they're like, "We apologize. The game wasn't great." But here's the thing: I feel bad for the DICE dude that had come out and do that, because that DICE dude wasn't the reason, or he wasn't the one who was like, "We need to do this." Why the hell wasn't freaking who's the CEO of EA? Andrew Wilson.
No.
Andrew Wilson. Why wasn't Andrew Wilson the one up on stage apologizing for Battlefront 2?
Coward?
Yes, clearly.
Well,
come on, Jazz.
They're trying to turn a page, aren't they? I mean, what are they supposed to do? Focus completely on the negative, and I don't want to be defending EA itself, because no one was more angry about EA last year than me. And but at some point, you just have to give them a chance to get better, or at the very, very least, just sort of and there are people who have written off Anthem and Battlefield purely based on what EA did last year, and that's fair enough, right? But the thing is, those games are still going to be pretty fun. They're still going to, they still look awesome, and they've still got people working on them who had nothing to do with those decisions. So, for my money, at the very least, I'm going to enjoy EA's games for at least a couple of years, where they try to be pro-consumer before they become dickheads again in a couple of years. Because this isn't the first time we've been here, Rand. This is not the first time we've been here with EA. Like when they made Dead Space 3, they were apologizing for loot crates back then, or like microtransactions. And when they made SimCity, they were apologizing for always online DRM and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, we'll get better, we'll get better." And then here we are again with Battlefront 2. So no, I don't think EA is going to be EA is going to be hitting that greed button again in a few years' time. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
But there comes a point though where you just have to like accept it. That's EA, I mean, you're not going to put this company out of business.
And the funny thing is, the two best segments for the show were indie games. Unravel 2, which was out that day, looks pretty cool in co-op, $20, and then Sea of Solitude. Now I love Sea of Solitude because I love the person presenting it, Jez. I thought the woman they had up there was very genuine. You could tell emotions were pouring out of her, and she wasn't speaking from a teleprompter. It was very genuine human emotion, and it really comes across as real. But then again, when I watch like Andrew Wilson, it just comes off as fake evil CEO of EA. You know what I mean?
Evil CEO.
But we're getting to the point here where this game is what saved it for Jez, because they showed off Anthem. We're going to skip Command and Conquer Rivals and the 10-minute mobile demo they decided to do, which shame on you for showing off and giving that much time to a freaking mobile game. But they weren't the only ones to do that, because Bethesda did the same damn thing. Mobile games. But Jez, tell everybody why you love Anthem so much, because when we were talking about the show, you were very high on it where I wasn't.
Well, first of all, I've always loved the idea of Destiny, the idea of a connected asynchronous RPG. But Destiny never executed for me. Destiny 1, I thought was bland, boring. The classes, quote unquote, had no nuance, no real difference. They just had different colored grenades. I don't think that's classes. I think that's lame. And it's the same in Destiny 2. And yes, I know they have different supers and stuff like that. But there's no class depth there. There's no RPG there. And Destiny does have really great shooting mechanics and stuff like that. But it's like, if it's not an RPG, don't call it an RPG. Don't have these stupid busy work stuff there, which they've only put there to make it grindy, to keep you engaged. I really hate Destiny, like straight up. I hate that game. But Anthem looks like it is being a little bit more what I wanted out of Destiny. And yeah, I'm not. This isn't gamer entitlement here. I'm just talking about my personal opinion. That games don't have to. Not all games have to be the same, but like what excited me about Anthem was the verticality, being able to fly around. Like the world looked really detailed and rich and interesting. It's like in like I was excited for Destiny originally because they were like, oh, you can go to those mountains, blah blah blah. And
but
then
you couldn't, yeah.
But you couldn't.
Yeah.
But in Anthem, it looks like you will, but there will be a huge amount of exploration, and not only that, but reasons to explore. And also, I mean, part of the reason why I'm excited for Anthem is just because of how disappointed I was with Destiny, and how I'm just hopeful that it sort of has more RPG in it. Now they've got like different classes. They've got like a caster class. They've got like a rogue and a tank and a sort of all-rounder warrior type class. And to me, that's what makes a co-op RPG. Is like different classes that can synergize, play off each other's strengths. And there was things in the trailer that just excited me, like seeing one class use like a freezing grenade and another class shattering all those mobs and stuff, which reminded me somehow of Dragon Age 2's combo system, and to some degree in Dragon Age Inquisition 2. But it's like, that's what I want from a co-op RPG, like that sort of class synergy, genuine diverging classes, not just these different colored grenades that are supposed to be classes and stuff like that. Real customization options. So part of it is just me being hopeful that it does materialize into the game that I know BioWare is capable of making. And also there's like some other reasons too. Like BioWare were talking about how like the cinematic choice and consequence actions in their game will all take place in that sort of city hub, and your choices that you make out in the field will play out like in the plot when you go back to the main base and stuff. And it kind of felt like they were responding to things they'd learned from Star Wars: The Old Republic, which does have the BioWare choice and consequence narrative to a degree. I mean, at the time, I think it might even still be true. Star Wars: The Old Republic was like the biggest voice acting project in history, or something. Like every single NPC has um has voice acting in them, and every character has like a reason. They had reasons and context for what the quest you're doing, but something they said during their presentation, which basically directly addressed feedback from Star Wars: The Old Republic was, when you're out and about in the world, you don't want to have tons of exposition as to why you've got a quest to go and kill 10 space boars. Like some quests in Star Wars: The Old Republic was like, you'd have these dialogue choices for a quest that literally just was go here and kill this, you know, and it was really really lame. So I think like in Anthem, I think they might actually finally perfect the idea of a co-op RPG with an actually good narrative that doesn't pull you out of the game when you're trying to play cooperatively, like Star Wars: Old Republic's dungeons often did. So
that would be great, but we didn't see any of that in the 3 minutes they showed.
yeah, exactly. We didn't see it. They just talked about it in interviews.
And that's why, yeah, it's like, but that's why, like, I felt their presentation was so lacking because, as you know, Casey Hudson and the two other people were talking about it, all they showed behind them was just concept art and was just footage of the mechs flying around, which the mechs flying around looks really cool and the movement looks great, but it didn't. They were trying to tell us why we should be excited about the game, but like, I'm not excited about concept footage. Like, show me something to get excited about, you know? And yeah, the demo they showed was pretty cool, but I still have some doubts. Like, the gunplay doesn't look that satisfying. You know, the third person gunplay. I was just like, so just lock on stuff. The movement looks great, and like the actual like area you're in looks pretty cool. But I don't know. I'm not necessarily that sold on Anthem at this point. And
I think that's fair. It's fair to have any degree of skepticism when we're talking about EA. I think it's fair to have skepticism at this point. But again, this might just be my naivety coming in. But I just want to believe that game will deliver what I hope Destiny would. And like, you know, I've learned not to get overexcited and not to fill in the gaps in my knowledge without having the real information there. But I've just got more faith in BioWare's A team than I do in Bungie, than I do in, you know, BioWare's other teams, like the team that got dissolved after Mass Effect Andromeda. So I just want to believe, Rand. I want to believe.
I don't want, well, because when you let the hype get taken with you, you tend to tweet things out like Anthem's going to be the PUBG of 2019 or something. I don't want you to like go down that path again. And shout out to Brendan Davis for the super chat. He says, I believe they failed the microtransactions because they didn't do as successful or fair, for example, Halo 5's rec packs. I mean, the Halo 5's ones were pretty decent, and yeah, the reason people were upset about the Star Wars ones was because how it impacted progression. But Anthem, so it was announced February 22nd, Jez. And you know what else comes out on February 22nd? Metro 2033, Days Gone from Sony, and Crackdown 3.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah. Who's out there telling all these publishers to release your game on February? What is so important about February 22nd?
World War 3 starts a few weeks later, maybe.
Okay. So clearly all four of those games are not launching on that day, right?
Yeah. I think Anthem will slip.
So you think, but okay, so even if Anthem does slip, which I wouldn't be surprised, although Jez, I think Anthem wants to get out before Division, similar games, third-person MMO. Division has a release date of March 15th, so it can't slip too far.
Good point. And Division 2 looked pretty damn good too.
So what are we looking at another delay for Crackdown? Because I just can't see Crackdown releasing on that. So
I
Crackdown's
think
releasing on that day no matter what.
I think Crackdown. If they would delay it again, it'd just be silly at this point. And Phil said on an interview, I think he said it on a Mixer interview that they delayed it. They said it wasn't going to be ready until the fall, but they didn't want to send it out to die in the fall against all these heavy hitters, so they delayed it to February. So presumably, Crackdown 3 will pretty much be done in the fall, unless they like decide to add this huge new game mode to it or something. So I think basically Crackdown should be completely finished by February, be way before February. Maybe they could even bring the release date forward a bit, release it in January or something. But if that's true, but I don't think it gets delayed again. I think they'll just ship it, man. It'll be the Game Pass game for that month.
I mean, I know, but I mean, you're not. I mean, with all those like Anthem, Metro, Days Gone, and Crackdown, it's like that is 4 big games. I mean, if you're trying to move Crackdown away from the big hitters of the holiday, only to just put them all, with like 3 other games on the same day, it's like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know Anthem's a new IP and maybe it won't do very well. That's fine. Metro will do okay. Metro's not like Call of Duty or Battlefield or anything, so maybe they're not necessarily worried about that. And maybe they're not worried about Days Gone because that's a PlayStation exclusive. But, I mean, for anybody who is fans of both systems, who gets everything, I mean, that's what, $300 down right there? Well, maybe a little bit less.
Game Pass.
I mean, even still, it's $180 because those other 3 games aren't going to be on Game Pass.
Honestly, maybe it's a good thing because people will be like, "Oh, you know what? I won't." But what I'll do is I'll buy another game and I'll buy a month of Game Pass for Crackdown.
Yeah, well, they were selling on Amazon 6 months of Game Pass for $30. You could get it for half price.
There you go.
I know a lot of people who bought like a whole year for basically six, for $60. But it's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen something like this where 4 games, high-profile games at that, not just like indie titles, are all claiming February 22nd. And
it is strange.
And I have a feeling most of those are going to slip. I could see some of them moving forward. I could easily see Days Gone releasing the week before, just being like, oh, by the way, we finished early. Our game is now coming February 15th. I could easily see Metro just being like, hey, we wanted to give more polish. We're coming out in May. But I think Anthem wants to be out before Division.
Yeah.
So I don't think Anthem is going to go anywhere. And as far as Crackdown, I think you're right. I think it's going to come out regardless of whatever's around it because it's Game Pass, baby, and that's what Microsoft's all about.
Game Pass, baby. Is that the new advertising jingle? Game Pass, baby.
Yeah. But then we got to one of your favorite publishers, and that's Bethesda.
Yes.
And they
Bethesda, as I like to call it.
They showed off some Rage 2, which looks awesome.
It's sickening how good that game looks.
It's sickening and amazing how nobody cared about Rage or Rage 2, and then all of a sudden people care about Rage 2 because of what they're doing. Because basically it's like Doom. You know what I mean?
I've seen people streaming the original Rage to get ready. Like they never heard of it or played it.
Yeah, I mean you don't need to play the Rage 1 to get ready for Rage 2. They said the main character is not the same. It's a completely different take, but it really looked like a first-person Mad Max game, and I'm really excited for that. Then
amazing.
Then they talked about Elder Scrolls Legends and Elder Scrolls Online. Who gives a crap about either of those two things? Although they said Legends is coming to console. That's a card game. This got me excited. A minute and a half tease of Doom Eternal.
Oh yeah! Wow. So many of these games you just know are gonna hit it out of the park.
And does the naming of the game kind of sound like something that's gonna go on for a long time? Doom Eternal, Halo Infinite.
Are you saying Doom's a game as a service?
I'm just looking at the name and saying Doom Eternal. Like I see that and I think, hey, eternal means forever.
It does.
So are they to be doing?
Doom's basically going to be playable forever.
Yeah. The only reason that wasn't in my top 13 of E3 was because
bad taste.
It was nothing. I mean, it was just a CGI trailer. You know what I mean? Like I'm excited for it, but I wanted to see more than that. Quake Champions, they talked about that, and Prey. They mentioned Prey. The Prey DLC was out that day called Moon Crash.
I'm quite shocked about Prey. I thought that was dead. I thought they would just forget that IP ever existed, and it's a shame because it was my personal game of 2017,
Right.
and I know a
And
lot of people
it
didn't like it.
finally got an Xbox One X enhancement as well,
Yeah,
with the patch.
out of nowhere.
And then they announced a multiplayer mode called Typhoon Hunter 1v5, where one person goes up against five mimics. Pretty interesting. Although
Yeah.
this was the press conference where Bethesda is like, multiplayer in all of our games, please. I know last year we were all about saving single player, but this year we're all about multiplayer.
Are you salty about that? Because I know you
No,
like your
not at
single player.
all. Not at all.
It's
Because
good.
um, no, because most of the stuff here is co-op. I don't know. Wolfenstein Youngblood, they came out, and it's a Wolfenstein standalone game set in the future where you play as BJ's twin daughters, coming out next year, entirely playable in co-op. And then once again, I started seeing people being upset that women are in video games.
Yeah.
Again, like they're upset that women are in Battlefield 5. They're upset that women are now in Wolfenstein. They're upset that women are now in Gears of War. People are just upset, man, and they're angry.
People are angry. They need to get some chicken tendies.
Chicken tendies. And then the big
Some money.
presentation was about Fallout 76. It's entirely online. It's launching this year, November 14th. Now we know why there's no games launching in November, because Fallout 76 is the game coming out then. Uh, they did a pretty damn good presentation on it, so much so that even though I'm not that big of a fan of Fallout, I am kind of interested in it. Jez, are you down for an online Fallout experience?
I am. I think they'll get it right. They they pretty much got a mobile game right. It's really funny. Like when most devs announce a mobile game spin-off for one of their IP, everybody groans. But when Bethesda announced Fallout Shelter, nobody groaned. They were just kind of intrigued. And Todd Howard has this sort of swagger on stage. You know, he's Todd Howard is reaching Hideo Kojima level of fandom right now, maybe even beyond. He's like one of those video game dev rock stars, you know, like Cliffy B back in the day. It's crazy seeing the way people react to Todd now. I'm sure you've seen the memes, but
Oh yeah, I've seen it, dude. Todd is one of the best at giving a gameplay demonstration.
it really is.
He's
Like
so smooth. He's got the charisma. You see him walking around stage, not relying on the teleprompter, just easy speaking. Like, yo, Todd, be my friend, bud. Dude, seriously, you're awesome at what you do. And shout out to the new sponsor, Marlesco. Thank you for sponsoring the channel. I appreciate it. But man, Todd Howard is awesome. And he's selling me on Fallout 76. Now, what he couldn't sell me on was Elder Scrolls Blades. I'm sorry, Todd. Your charisma and charm only goes so far. I'm not really digging this focus on mobile. And maybe maybe you can sell it on me. Elder Scrolls Blades. No?
No, I am a mobile gamer. I did think it was cool that they were like you can play it in portrait mode, because that's one thing that's really annoying about mobile games is just they don't play well. Many mobile games that are like legitimate sort of RPGs and stuff like that, they just don't handle very well. I remember Mass Effect Infiltrator, which came out, God, years ago now. Mass Effect Infiltrator was sort of like a Mass Effect spin-off game where you play as a Cerberus agent, and it has similar gameplay to actual Mass Effect, like cover mechanics and biotics and stuff like that. And it's a pretty neat game, but it's still like, man, this is so awkward playing with a touchscreen, you know. And it's like, you know, I have to give up my second hand. And Todd made a joke about masturbating when he was talking about portrait mode, but I did like that aspect of it, and I think it's good that these AAA legitimate developers are at least exploring those paradigms, like, because sometimes you do want a game, but you're not necessarily at your console, and it's like when I was seeing Gears Tactics, my first thought was, man, touch controls, Surface Phone, put that on that thing if it ever comes out, you know. And Gears Pop too, and I'm sorry, but I will play Gears Pop, and I like it. and everyone's just gonna have to deal with it because it's Gears.
Yeah.
So I like that AAA devs are at the very least exploring how to make mobile gaming less shit. Because let's face it, mobile gaming is shit up to now,
Right.
and maybe it will continue being shit. But there are some good,
So
genuinely good games like
you're
Fallout
not
Shelter.
really interested in Elder Scrolls Blades, even if it comes to console, because he did mention that they want to put it everywhere.
Well, I'm not going to touch it if it comes to console. Maybe it'd be like one of those nice little casual games because it does have like the whole the roguelike stuff and the base building, which similar to Darkest Dungeon, funnily enough. Because in Darkest Dungeon you build up your home base and then you go dungeon crawling, blah blah blah, stuff like that. I doubt it'll be as hardcore as Darkest Dungeon though. Darkest Dungeon makes you want to just cry in a dark corner sometimes, but um, I'll give it a go. Why not? I play on my phone. Not that my phone could run that probably, but
Right.
um, but it was kind of interesting that um, not only did EA, but Microsoft and Bethesda all sort of announced mobile games, and they weren't. There is a theme there that is important to listen to, even if you're not into mobile gaming or you don't care about the wider industry and stuff. But Bethesda was saying Fallout Shelter is by far their most successful game ever, with over 100 million players or something.
75 million more people played
75
that
million.
game than all their other games combined.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a lot of people play that game, and that's because of mobile. And that's when Microsoft talks about cloud streaming on their stage. That's the opportunity they're talking about, is reaching those people who, maybe they don't want to buy a console, maybe they don't want to buy a 4K TV, maybe they don't want to commit to playing games for several hours, maybe they just want to play 20 minutes on a bus and stuff. How do you get AAA devs and people who are using x86 architecture development platforms? How do you bring those devs to those screens? And that's the next big opportunity for AAA gaming. And if they can get it there, that's how you convert more casuals into real gamers, and that's how you grow the industry. That's how you get more variety in the industry, more types of games, more studios, more devs, more battering on your wallet. It's
Right.
exciting time to be in gaming.
Well, you are excited for Fallout 76, but you know who's not? Infinity Hand with the super chat. He says, Fallout mega fan. Hope 76 crashes and burns.
Whoa,
Trash.
that is mean.
Yes.
Why would you hope it crashes and burns?
He says it spits in the face of all Fallout fans. Fallout is his favorite game franchise.
Well, it's one of my favorite game franchises too. I wasn't Fallout 4 I felt slapped me in the face because it didn't have a branching narrative. It was like, oh, here are four speech options, but they all lead to the same thing. That annoyed me, when I played Fallout 4, far more than having a multiplayer Fallout, which, by the way, it's not going to take away from the traditional Fallout branch. This is like the team that's, building the next engine for Elder Scrolls 6. Obviously, they're going to build the next Fallout game will be built on that engine.
I think the fear is that if Fallout 76 does incredibly well, there won't be a Fallout 5 that is strictly single player. That like all the future Fallout games will have multiplayer. You know what I mean? I think that's the fear for some people.
What you have to understand is Fallout 76 is not. I mean, they did say it's a true Fallout game and all this stuff, but it's not really. There's no NPCs in the game. There's no like player narrative in the game. It's like Sea of Thieves in the sense that you're meant to make your own story, and they're pretty explicit about that. Obviously there's going to be more stuff to do than Sea of Thieves, one would hope, but it is like Sea of Thieves in the sense that you just you play the game, you go around looking for materials, fighting mobs, getting loot, and doing that sort of stuff. It's not like a true Fallout game. It's like something a bit different. It is
Right.
like Sea of Thieves. But it's players make the story, and players will just appear in your game, and you can emote with them, trade with them, kill them, trick them and stuff like that. Man, Rand, I got to tell you, did we already talk about me trying to kill the Megalodon in Sea of Thieves? Did we talk about that last week?
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
I'm still salty about that.
I could tell, but They ended their show on two teases. They ended their show on a tease for Starfield and a tease for or Elder Scrolls 6. Literally like teases. Trailers were less than 30 seconds long, and in the case of Elder Scrolls, that was like a 10-second one. And when I saw that, I'm like, cool. They're letting people know, like, hey, yeah, we are working on these games, so shut up. But also at the same time, like when I apply this to Xbox, I almost switched. They did the same thing when they announced the acquisition of Playground Games. Like, and Phil handled it in a good way, and it seemed like everybody knew. It was like, yeah, it's Fable. But can you imagine if they just like cut to a screen and be like, and they're bringing their expertise to their open world expertise to a new game, and we got a little taste for you right here, and they show, and it's like a 10-second trailer that just says Fable at the end of it. I think that would have been huge. What about, like,
I know a lot. I think even from the core fans, that was the central criticism of Microsoft E3. Like, where is the Fable tease, basically? And I get that.
Right.
I'm not a big Fable fan, and I'm totally willing to be patient and wait for what they've got working on there. But I get that people wanted to actually see a new game and stuff like that. But I guess it's just not ready yet, and the acquisition's still going through.
Well,
they're probably like
fired them already. Like I think the other ones haven't gone through.
No, it's a statement. It's a letter of intent, right?
Well, I thought the other ones were letter of intents, and that one already went through.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Either way, whatever. Moving on to Ubisoft, because we got a lot to cover here, and we still got to go into Xbox. So Ubisoft, they showed up Beyond Good and Evil 2. They talked about Rainbow Six Siege and how they had 30 million players. They showed Trials Rising, which
my girlfriend was so hyped.
For Trials Rising?
My girlfriend's not a gamer, but she loves Trials.
People do love Trials. Yeah.
I was like, because like she can't like do the 3D controls, the whole like she can't get her head around the mentality of controlling things in 3D. But she loves the 2D games, so she likes Limbo. She played Ori. And she likes Trials because it's on a 2D plane. She was so excited for that announcement.
Yeah, and then they went into an extended demo for Division 2. They announced that they're going to have 8-player raids, and they showed off the Year 1 roadmap, which is cool. You got 3 episodes free to everybody. Hopefully Division 2 is a better game than Division 1 is. I'm expecting them to announce a Battle Royale mode for Division 1. Like, they're changing the Dark Zone into Battle Royale of some kind. Maybe that'll be announced when it gets closer to the game or launch. The Donkey Kong Rabbids DLC was announced, which comes in a couple weeks. They showed off a trailer for Skull and Bones, which is basically Sea of Thieves DLC. Right? Sea of Thieves DLC. It looked cool. I made that joke on Twitter. Transference is coming out fall of this year. Starlink is coming out this year, which is like a, I don't even know really what it is. Honestly, it looks like poo to me. But they went more into For Honor. They're bringing Chinese warriors into it for that. They talked about Crew 2 for a couple minutes, and then they went into a huge demo of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is coming out October 5th. And you can play as Alexios or Cassandra, so male or female protagonist. But the biggest takeaway out of this goddamn conference was no Splinter Cell.
Ubisoft rang me up and they said, we're cancelling Splinter Cell because it's just not a very good franchise. And they were like, can you tell Ran that it's cancelled?
No. Dude, I sat there. I literally sat there at the end of the conference stunned. I was stunned because, dude, every single game that leaked on that Walmart Canada thing showed up.
Except for the one you wanted.
Except for the one that I wanted, that has been teased forever, and it's freaking Splinter Cell. And it didn't show up, and the way they're talking about it afterwards, we're like, hey, we're still taking pictures for it. That's my French accent.
Oh, man.
I just... It makes me upset, and honestly does. Their conference was
yeah. Okay, take a minute, breathe.
Whatever. I'm over it. I don't care about Ubisoft. Screw them. You're not gonna bring back. You're not gonna bring back an iconic Sam Fisher. You're nothing to me. You're dead. You're dead, son.
Oh dear.
You're dead.
Oh dear.
So you know what? Really quickly, Jez, your thoughts on Ubisoft, and then we're going into Xbox. It's Xbox time, baby.
Um, I was a fan of the original Division, but what sucked about the original Division was, at least at launch, the end game was terrible. Like then they added like the first raid, which was like fighting some tank, and the best tactics for it was to like exploit the map and hide in some trench. And I was like, this isn't raiding, you know. So I just dropped the game and just never played it again. And also the Dark Zone was so laggy at the time that, you know, I was just getting killed by people chopping all over the place. And it was back in the days, Ubisoft didn't have great investment in its server technology and all that sort of stuff. So, but the thing is, what Ubisoft has been showing in recent years, at least in my observation, is that they can listen to feedback and improve. And you know, you got Assassin's Creed Origins, very good, and you've got Rainbow Six Siege now, over 30 million players, 36 million if I remember right. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it's a lot of players. And they added dedicated servers specifically for those gamers, and also For Honor as well. For Honor got new content coming as well. So basically, my feelings about Ubisoft's conference pretty much focus on the Division, because I was, you know, again, I really like the whole idea that Destiny gave us, but nobody's really fully delivered on that. And like some of the stuff surrounding the Division 2's announcement, like stuff like weapon specializations, which sort of brings some of that class synergy elements to the game, and all the new skills that was sort of teased in their gameplay video. So yeah, my thoughts on Ubisoft revolve almost entirely around the Division, and you know, hoping that it just delivers on the potential that the original game had. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just disappointed in no Splinter Cell, but we've gotten through most of them. Maybe we'll talk about Sony's later if we have enough time. It's all about Xbox from here on out. We do a primarily focused Xbox podcast, but we did want to talk about all the other shows because most of these games, if not all of them, will be coming to Xbox. But man, we were waiting for this.
For explaining that.
What?
Nothing.
No. We were looking forward to this E3. I was kind of downplaying it because I felt like it wasn't going to live up to my expectations. And then I don't know, what would you say, Jess? Two days before the show, 3 days before the show, I had a conversation with a certain someone. Of course, the someone will remain private, who really, I don't know, convinced me that it was going to be something special. No, it wasn't Jez. It wasn't anybody in the gaming press or whatever. But this person, when we were talking, I just started to let myself dream a little bit, and my expectations started to rise of that Xbox was going to have a good show. And while they didn't really have many exclusives coming in the short term, which is something me and Jazz have talked about for some time, the investment in Xbox is something real and transparent now, which is, you know, something to get excited about. But let's go step by step here, and we can dissect all this stuff, and then at the end we'll give our grades. Halo Infinite as the opener, Jazz. A game engine demonstration that had me guessing up until right about the end when I saw the soldiers and their battle rifles. That, what is this? What could it be? My first thought when they were in the cave, I'm like, oh, this is Tomb Raider. They're opening with Tomb Raider. Bold choice. Let's see how this plays out. But no, it was Halo Infinite. No date given, presumably probably 2019, 2020 or later. But man, it was nice seeing the focus back on Chief. And in interviews afterward, they said it's strictly focused on Master Chief. What do you think, Jazz? Was this the right way to open the show? And I know you're a Halo hater. But what do you think about
Halo? I just think it's really overrated. But nah, I thought it was really cool. I mean, I watched, again, I'm not a big Halo fan. People know, but I watched some of the fan reactions to that announcement, and like Microsoft, like digitally, well, the Microsoft microphones don't pick up what the audience is saying for obvious reasons. But like, if you go on YouTube and search for Halo Infinite fan reaction, the noise in that room when they announced when you see Master Chief's helmet in the trailer is pretty something special.
Yeah,
And
I watched some of that too. Yeah, you can definitely hear people going crazy.
yeah, and it's I was surprised. I mean, Brad Sams from Petri, I think he works for. He leaked Halo Infinite's name, and I sort of speculated with a couple of other people in the community that maybe it was a rebrand for the Master Chief Collection, and I
Oh
actually
no no
thought
no no no!
but no, it was very much not, very much something more, and it's funny, Rand, because I was watching that trailer, right, and again, this just highlights that I'm not a Halo fan, but I was watching the trailer and I just thought like it looked kind of pretty and nice. But then I had Brendan Lowry, who writes for Windows Central. He's our Halo guy, our Halo expert. He found so many details in that trailer that I just never would have seen. Like those deer that were walking around gave away the Halo ring's location, and apparently it's Halo Zeta. Like I would never have known that. Something to do with the books, and like he says as well, Halo Zeta is rumored to have a huge cache of Flood in it as well. But I like the Flood. The Flood is way cooler than the stupid Prometheans.
I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and there's just loads of other little details that he was able to discern from the trailer because he reads all the books and the comics and all that sort of lore and stuff. And clearly, that trailer was designed to excite casual fans who maybe they know Chief, and they showed the big Halo ring in the background and stuff like that, and that's what you really know Halo for, and the Warthog driving over grassy fields and stuff. But they also had that layer of details like the deers and the alien deers and the different creatures and stuff like that, and like even some of like the markings as well, because Halo Zeta apparently had like ancient humans living on it, I think, if I remember right. So, and I'm sure there's Halo fans in chat will correct me if I'm wrong there, but there was so many details for hardcore Halo fans in there. So it was actually a very clever trailer, and I'm interested to see where they take the franchise next, because in some of the post E3 discussions, they were talking about like how it's needed a new engine because it's so ambitious and all this sort of stuff, and that makes me feel like, well, if it's so ambitious, what are they going to do to change it up?
Open world, perhaps? I mean, the trailer kind of hinted at an open world feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
It did kind of feel like that. I don't know if you saw today, but senior artist from Naughty Dog of like 6 years, he left for 343.
Yep.
And I know they hired the combat designer from Guerrilla Games, who worked on Horizon Zero Dawn. He came over last year. So it seems like work is progressing on that, and I think it needs a new engine because they want to do more. But I also think this is a game, and I know me and you have butted heads over this about next gen, but I think Halo 6 is going to be a next gen launch title of some kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, we butt heads over the semantics of the idea of next gen. I think that game will still hit OG Xbox.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's going to be. And they're going to come out with the Xbox Scarlet in 2020, and Halo 6 will be a game that you can, buy and play on your Xbox Scarlet.
What do we think of that code name, by the way?
I don't know. We'll talk about that at the end, because that's when Phil really talked about it. So Halo Infinite. I'm excited to see what they do with Halo. I've said from the start, I am a huge fan of Halo. It's my favorite gaming franchise, and I want.
Really, your favorite?
Oh yeah, by far my favorite franchise.
Interesting.
The multiplayer was great in 5, so I know 343 can do the multiplayer. They just need to step up their game for the single player. And if you need to take the extra couple years, because Halo 5 came out in 2015, so if this game is 2020, take the extra 2 years, make Halo Infinite something special. I don't just take your time, make an amazing game. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I want. And the focus on Master Chief is something I wanted to hear. I just want it to be his story. I mean, if it's taking place right after Halo 5, him versus Cortana, it would be nice to see the Flood come back. It would be nice to actually be on a Halo ring again, because, quite frankly, the Prometheans suck, and so did Locke. So did the focus on Locke. So that's what I want.
you know, kind of want Atriox to show up in this one too.
Maybe you could. Maybe weren't they on? Were they on a ring for Halo Wars 2?
They were on. Oh, what was it called now? Installation Zero.
Oh, Installation Zero.
The
It's possible.
thing that creates the rings.
Yeah, I guess it's possible they could be able to make their way to Halo Zeta.
I mean, they always we covered Halo Wars 2 extensively at Windows Central. Man, it's probably because no other outlet wanted to cover it. But they were always adamant that Halo Wars 2 was supposed to be setting up plot points for Halo 6. So I wouldn't be surprised if Atriox's banished faction has some part to play. I think that'd be cool. I don't know.
Right. And then Phil took the stage, sounding confident that they were going to put on a good show. He said that they were going to have 50 games with 18 exclusives and 15 world premieres. And honestly, the rest of their show was pretty much just game after game after game after game, which is, I think, the best way to do a presentation. Just keep the talking at a minimum and just show games after games after games. It's something that Sony did incredibly well back in 2016, and I think is the premier way to do the press conferences. And then when you compare Microsoft's to EA's, EA looks like an amateur freshman project, while Xboxes look like a master's thesis. Like, this is how you actually do a press conference, EA. This, not the crap that you did. You know what I mean?
I actually wrote an editorial today that was basically like saying that, but to the rest of Microsoft. Like, every division at Microsoft has really lame press conferences, except maybe Surface. But it's like the fire that Microsoft showed at that press conference was just incredible. And like I'd really love to see the rest of Microsoft get on that train.
Right. They
Xbox
went in
is leading Microsoft for me right now.
Well, I don't care about the rest of Microsoft. I only cared about Xbox.
Yeah,
they went into Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which comes out next year. And I am dying to play this game, Jez. Dying to play this game. And in my top 13 games of E3, this one placed number 3, just ahead. And get ready to die, PlayStation fanboys, and freak out. Ahead of Last of Us 2. Yes, I said it. Ori and the Will of the Wisp is better than The Last of Us 2. What you gonna do about it?
See, even I wouldn't say that.
I just said it.
Did you see The Last of Us?
I just said it.
It was brutal. It was awesome.
Oh yeah,
I like
it was. But it's gonna be funny. I'm waiting to see some of the PlayStation guys' comments right now. Yeah, I said it. Ori, give me a choice. What do I play first? Ori or Last of Us 2? Gonna have to go with Ori, bruh. What do you gotta say? Huh? You gonna come at me?
I've got the Ori plush toy, right?
Oh, you bastard!
It's bloody huge. I was like, where do I put this? I'll just put it in the cupboard because there's nowhere else to put it. So maybe I'll send it to you sometime.
So that's coming out next year. I thought it would be March 2019, but with Crackdown coming out in February, it doesn't make sense for Ori to come out in March. So who knows when that will. So the next game they went to was a surprise for a lot of people that it would show up here, and that's Shadows Die Twice, or Sekiro, from Software and Activision. And this kind of really excited people, surprised people. It looked really good.
I was screaming, "Oh my god, it's Tenchu! Oh my god, it's Tenchu!" And then it wasn't Tenchu. But apparently, it did start life as a potential Tenchu project.
I thought the game was amazing. Like I'm so really into that game, and I'm so into that Ghost of Tsushima game that Sony showed off. But I'm not that big of a fan of Dark Souls, man. I'm not, and like I'm happy to see them moving away. Well, I'm sure it sucks for their fans, but like this, they said this isn't an RPG. This is really like an action game.
Yeah, there's no like collecting souls and getting them if you die and stuff like that. It's like a pure action game.
Yeah, and what this
like no progression in it whatsoever.
Yeah, and one of the things Phil's always kind of tried to do, and what people have wanted Phil to do, was to try to convince more Japanese developers to put their games on Xbox.
Yeah.
And this press conference went a long way to try to show that yes, they are coming, and we, for those of you who want those type of games, they'll be here. Now, granted, they may not always come, as Square Enix's conference had a game from Platinum Games called Babylon something, which is PS4 game coming out next year. But they're doing definitely a lot better now than they were doing like 4 years ago or 3 years ago.
Definitely.
A couple,
we did get Near Automata at least.
Yeah, so Nier Automata was there, which is something that had been rumored about. That actually comes out in like 12 days. I think I may actually play it, even though I have it for the PlayStation.
Phil actually commented on this in an interview, and he said, now this is interesting. He said, like, we do know that there are a lot of Japanese games that arbitrarily miss Xbox, and that means that there's no exclusivity deal in place, but they just miss Xbox because there's no Xbox presence in Japan and that sort of thing. And they said they're going to work really hard to try and bring those games in. And someone in the audience yelled, Persona! And then Phil was like, I hear you. So,
yeah, Persona games are pretty big, and they're actually pretty good, well, judging from Metacritic. Todd Howard came back, showed up here before Bethesda's, which was a surprise, and showed off Fallout 76. Also mentioned that Fallout 4 was coming to Game Pass right then and there, which is cool. They showed off the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit from Square Enix and Dontnod, which is like some sort of Life is Strange game, which you can play for free. And if you read the store description, it says that some of the things in there will matter in Life is Strange 2. But as far as I know, they haven't announced Life is Strange 2 yet, have they?
Did they actually say that?
Yeah, if you go read the store description of the Awesome Adventure of Captain Spirit, are you on Xbox.com? Because hold on, I'll go to Xbox.com. It literally says that in the description. Hold on, the awesome. Let's see if that actually just brings it up. And of course it wouldn't. How about just Captain Spirit? Does Captain Spirit bring it up? Captain. I don't think they've announced it yet, have they?
They haven't. I don't think so. Life is Strange 2?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't find it on here. I don't know.
You played that, right?
Oh, Life is Strange. Yeah, I like Life is Strange quite a bit. But either way, it's if you go to the store, it says like it'll have tie-ins to last Life is Strange 2, which they haven't announced yet, but it's there. Either way, moving on from that game, they went right into hold on, where are my notes? They went right into Crackdown 3, and showed off another single-player trailer where Terry Crews is the voice and the playable character. Looked better than what it did last year, but still, it was just a less than 2-minute trailer, and at the end it said February 2019. And honestly, I wonder how the reaction would have been to this, Jazz, if nobody knew it was delayed. Like if Jason Schreier from Kotaku didn't leak it beforehand, and you didn't get the confirmation from Microsoft it was deleted, how this would have went down?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think if the game looks super high quality and super exciting and all that sort of stuff, I don't think that delay would have mattered at all. At this point, Crackdown 3 basically seems like it's just for hardcore fans of the franchise. And you probably have to be. I don't expect that game to like change the world, like the world. I don't know,
but like the way Matt Booty's talked about in interviews after E3, you said they wanted to be on the level of Gears and Halo. It's something that me and you have been saying.
I don't think they're not gonna get it on the level of Gears of Halo.
Well, I don't think
not in this iteration. Maybe in future iterations, but I wouldn't have said no.
Now, here's the concern for me. This game was hyped up based on the cloud destruction of the multiplayer. And in the times they've shown it publicly, they choose to not show the multiplayer. This E3, once again, trailer for single player Terry Crews. Last E3, same thing. Is the multiplayer doing okay? And why aren't they showing it? These are questions I have about Crackdown. Now, like you said, I had heard that the single player portion was the portion that was having problems and the multiplayer was fine. Other people who have said, no, the single player is fine. The multiplayer is the problem. What's the truth here, Jez? What is going on with Crackdown's multiplayer? Clearly, the game has some sort of developmental issues. Is it? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I hear that the multiplayer is okay, but maybe it isn't. I can try and dig and maybe talk about it next week, but I've just got the same information that you've got. Like, um, I do think it's weird because, like, obviously, at least for me, as someone who isn't really into the Crackdown franchise and hasn't really paid any attention to it before, the cloud destruction is the bit that I'm excited about because I really want to see like that unique aspect come to life. But if um if it's not there, then GG. It's going to be sort of like just a sandbox game, which I ain't really into, to be honest. So I am. I'll dig in that, man. I'll dig into that. Leave it with me. Leave it with me, pal.
It's just interesting to know. Like the times they've chosen to show it off has strictly been the single player.
Yeah.
And people really want to know about the cloud destruction, and they haven't shown it. So it's like, what's the issue here?
Yeah.
And after that, what did we get into? We had Metro, which was impressive. I really enjoyed that gameplay. Well, it was a trailer, but it was really composed mostly of gameplay. Jez, how excited you are for Metro Exodus?
Sickeningly excited.
Sickening. I like that. I like on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you? Sickeningly.
It makes me feel sick that I don't have the game yet. Like I'm a big Metro fan. I love post-apocalypse in general, but I also really I love atmospheric games, and like Metro is some of the most atmospheric games out there. Like Metro Last Light, for me, is a masterpiece. Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't a perfect shooter, but I just like the art, the mood in that game is just immense, and I really love the character. Like Artyom is like the main character is kind of understated. He's not like this huge badass commando. He's just sort of like a guy trying to survive, help his brethren. So it's like I just love the mood that game has, and it just looks like Metro Exodus is going to take everything that's good about Metro and then push it out to the next level. So I'm really excited what they do with that game, and maybe.
Right. I got a question for you.
Oh, go on.
February 22nd rolls around. Anthem, Metro, Crackdown, and Days Gone are out. You can only play one. Which one can you play?
Metro.
You're playing Metro first?
There's not even any competition for me. It's 100% Metro.
Even though you're interested in Anthem, you still would play Metro first.
Yep, definitely. Metro 100%.
Okay.
Like Anthem's an unknown quantity, I guess, in some ways, and also I can always just play the Division, but Metro is Metro. Like there's just that game's special, man.
It is. And it's on sale right now on the Xbox store, and presumably I think on PlayStation as well for $7.50 for both titles. So for $7.50, you can get 2033 and Metro Last Light.
That's an amazing.
I recommend anybody who hasn't played those two games, if you're interested in Exodus, to play those. They are really good. And then Phil came out again, talked about Japanese support, and basically said he's excited to have this title come first time to Xbox, and it's Kingdom Hearts 3. They showed off a trailer. It's coming January 29th, 2019. And while it's great to have Kingdom Hearts come out on Xbox, I do have to wonder about why they haven't ported Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 to the system yet. They're on PlayStation. This is a franchise that has never been on Xbox, and I just wonder if Xbox gamers are just going to kind of, disregard this game because the previous ones aren't. And also considering they're on PlayStation. This is something, and then I did see a question and answer session where they said Microsoft hasn't approached them about getting those games on Xbox. So, what do you think, Jez?
Well, again, I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game, so not really that interested. It's not my kind of game. There's no death and depression in it. But for people who aren't interested in that game, I think it is important that they showed that on their stage, because there was some confusion when it was originally announced about whether it was fully exclusive or not. So again, it's about, for me, that one's, again, it's about sending a message. It's about like, we hear you about Japanese games, we hear you about these like beloved franchises that maybe aren't like well known on Xbox or associated with Xbox, but we want to try and get them anyway. So for me, it was about messaging, and I think they nailed it. But again, not a big Kingdom Hearts fan. Sorry, I know
Not
there's
the
a
big
huge.
Kingdom Hearts fan.
Are you a big Kingdom Hearts
I
fan?
mean, I played 1 and 2, and that's all. I mean, but like I played 2 when it came out in 2006, I think. It's been a
Hmm.
long time, and that story is very convoluted. I mean, I'm happy it's coming to
I've heard.
Xbox. I'll play it. I mean, January 29th is a nice release date. That's another thing to take away from this E3 was developers really spreading out their releases. This fall is absolutely jam-packed with games, and the first half of next year is looking jam-packed as well. They finally are starting to realize that gaming's a year-round hobby, not just like end-of-the-year hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eternal Shaddai, thank you for the super chat. He says, "Sorry, Jess, for texting you at 4 a.m." Ooh, man, okay. He goes on to say, "How do you feel about Forza Horizon 4 being at UK since you gave Jez a meh about the location now that it's concrete?" Well, good thing you brought that up because we're about to talk about Forza Horizon 4, so I'll answer that question there. But next up in the press conference was Sea of Thieves, the segment. You know, the Sea of Thieves segment. They showed off. Well, they didn't really show it off. They said, "Here's like 2 new DLCs or 2 new expansions. There's 4 million players." They teased that crab again, Jez. This is the second time I've noticed that crab.
Dude, seriously, that crab means something. I'm telling you, I thought the Megalodon was going to be a giant crab because I saw that crab and I was like, I know the guys at Reno pretty well. I know them pretty well. And I'm starting to get an idea of how they operate. And I saw that crab and I was like, I know what you're up to. Or maybe I've just gone completely insane.
I mean, yeah.
One of those.
So it sounds like one of these will have. I think it's like what they say, Forsaken Sales or Forsaken Land or Cursed Sales. Will probably have enemy AI skeletons patrolling on ships, and
Yes.
the Forsaken Lands. Which one comes out first? Is Cursed Sales in July and Forsaken?
Cursed Sales, yeah, Cursed Sales is next, and then Forsaken Shores is the one after that.
Yeah, and I think they also mentioned that the Megalodon team, the team that worked on Tunkering Deep, is also working on something new.
Yeah, so like the way this is going to work now is basically every time they're spinning up a 4th team as well. So every time one team ships their content, the next team will be bringing up the next patch. The original team will go and they'll start working on their next big content patch, so they can keep going through and adding more and more and more and more stuff.
Do you think these ones coming up here, like Cursed Sales with the pirates on their AI ships? Do you think that'll be a timed event like it was for the Megalodon? Because it's over, right? Like if you didn't get to fight the Megalodon, it's over. The event's done and over with.
Yeah, kind of. Like basically, the deal with the Megalodon is that if you didn't fight the Megalodon, if you didn't do the Megalodon campaign, you can no longer get the special cosmetics that are associated with that. But they are bringing the Megalodon back. As a random world encounter threat like the Kraken. They are bringing that back in the next content patch. They're going to tweak its AI a bit to, I think, change the way it behaves, maybe make it less aggressive or something. But considering that you'll probably when you see the Megalodon now, you'll probably be alone and you won't be with like the rest of your crew. With multiple crews, because the summonable Megalodon took multiple crews to do efficiently. Although someone soloed it with a sloop, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but they are bringing it back. It's just not going that the story campaign associated with it, that's gone there forever.
Right. So, and you know what would be awesome, Jez? You know what would be great? If we got more likes on the podcast. I see 430 people watching, yet I only see 146 likes. Come on, you guys can get this up to 200. It's free. Just hit that like button. You know you want to do it.
Slip that in there.
I always look for at least one way during the show to slip that in there.
A sneaky Sam Fisher type.
That's character. Right. And then we kind of I'm going to mention Battlefield 5 here. For the fact that they talked at EA's own show about Battlefield 5, they showed like a 10-second teaser and be like, tune in tomorrow, right? And then we tuned in to see a Battlefield 5 campaign footage, and it was 20 seconds long. It's like, why are you wasting my time? Like, what the hell? I know that they have the marketing deal for it or whatever, but either way, why waste my time? You didn't show anything important. But this is when this is the part of the like when the conference kind of kicked it in overdrive, right? It was already really good leading up to this point, but once Forza Horizon took the stage and what came after, who did this kind of kick it into the stratosphere? So they showed off a trailer for Forza Horizon 4, and no, it's not in Japan like the rumors had led. It's in jolly old Great Britain. And what? I don't know.
What was that?
I don't know. It was just something I just did. I don't know. It looked incredible. I want to play it right now. Like, look, I am a huge Forza Horizon fan. I thought Forza Horizon 3 was one of the best games when it came out in 2016. In fact, I placed it number 2. And I was wondering, like, what are they going to do to change it up for Forza Horizon 4? Because it is becoming a very, like, same formula, right? Japan could have changed that, but okay, we're back in the UK, and the countryside does look great. And they added seasons. So I don't know how this is really going to work, but at some points when you play, it'll be spring, and some points you play, it'll be winter, and some points it'll be summer, and some points it'll be fall, and the game changes, and there'll be new events. I doubt it'll be tied to the season that you're currently experiencing in real life. I'm sure.
No. They've every week is a season.
Okay, so like if I finish the game? What if I get the game and during that week it's summer and I finish it? I'll never see winter or fall.
No, the season changes for every player.
Right, like, but if I only play,
live, it's seasons as a service, right?
Seasons, so seasons as a games as a service.
Yeah, it's seasons as a service. So the season is fixed for everyone. That week will be that season for everyone playing.
I mean, that's cool. That's definitely cool. But you know how I play my games? I usually get in there and I just plow through them. You know what I mean? So everybody's saying the seasons are changed weekly. That's awesome. I did see that it's 72 people in the shared open world. You can opt out of that course if you want to just use Drivatars. And they're going to have an option for 60 frames per second on the X. Oh man, it's like everything I wanted in Forza Horizon. You got changing of seasons, which are going to be great. You have 60 frames mode. An online persistent world with 72 people and all the spontaneity and like things that can happen with the chaotic nature of that. And it comes out on September 2nd, which 4 days early access for the Ultimate Edition is September 28th, which I think was the same date as it came out 2 years ago. They announced again that it was coming to Game Pass, which everybody knew, but I think they wanted to reiterate that point, right? That it's coming to Game Pass. And they showed off that really great demo. Jez, are you sold on Forza Horizon again, being that it's in Britain? Like, are you super pumped?
Well, again, I'm not a racing car fan, but like you say, it was amazing seeing Britain portrayed in that light. And I said this on Twitter. There's so much negativity in the UK right now. Everyone's depressed. The economy's bad. Everyone's sad. The government sucks, and got Brexit going on, all this sort of stuff. It was just kind of nice to see the UK, and like, it's a British humor in a way to sort of be negative, and like you turn on the TV and even the comedy shows are negative, blah blah. So it was just really nice to see Playground celebrating what makes the UK cool or like nice or beautiful and all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't just sell, and there's a lot of division between the different territories in the UK as well. Like Scotland's mad at England, and then you got Wales just being Wales over there doing their thing, hi Wales. And there's going to be like a celebration of all the different kinds of places in the UK. Like it looked like London was being depicted, and you had the Cotswolds, countryside and stuff like that. It was just nice to see something positive about the UK for a change, which might be a stupid reason to be excited for a game, but representation does matter, and I think like
it's gonna be another game where I gotta drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, I did notice that they were on the quote unquote wrong side of the road in the trailer.
It also does make me wonder where the Japan rumors came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does make
no. There was that concept art, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, but I don't think people are using that concept art as a rumor. Because if anybody had any early inkling of what was going on there and saw the game in production, I don't know how you would assume Japan. So I'm just kind of curious. Maybe one of the expansions, they did say that there's 2 expansions. It's up for pre-order. The Ultimate Edition comes with 2 expansions. Maybe one of them is in Japan, or maybe not, because maybe they'll just do crazy stuff again. Obviously, they can't do like seasons. Like, remember, they did Blizzard Mountain for Forza 3 or Horizon
Oh
3,
yeah, yeah.
and now they have seasons, so there's no reason to do that. They did the Hot Wheels thing, which was awesome.
The
So
Hot
maybe
Wheels
they
thing was
do.
crazy. Like,
Maybe they do more something like that, like 2 expansions
Hot
that are kind of
Wheels.
really out there, and maybe Forza Horizon 5 does venture out in Japan, because they've done 2 in Europe now. The first one was in Colorado. Second one was in France. This one's in the UK. The third one was in Australia. So, you still have Japan to go to for 5 if you wanted to. But man, I am psyched to play this game. I'm really psyched. I love Forza Horizon.
I was reading like there's some kind of simulation elements to the game, like you can run a taxi business or something.
Oh yeah, I was seeing that you could buy property and do jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like, they're really trying to like make it, build
different.
upon 3. Yeah. But then Phil got back up on stage, and knowing the rumors about them buying Playground, I thought that this would be like when they come out and Phil, welcomes them to Microsoft Studios, and they started talking about how they wanted to invest in first party, and that they were building a brand new studio from the ground up, and it's called The Initiative, and it's Daryl Gallagher's studio at Santa Monica. And it's going to be building high quality games, AAA or quadruple, or whatever you want to call it. And if I had to guess, I think they're doing Perfect Dark at that studio, because I think Daryl's going to do what he did for Tomb Raider when he was head of Crystal Dynamics. So I just have this gut feeling that they're the studio going to be working on Perfect Dark.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like they literally talked about how in an interview they talked about, I can't remember which executive it was, but one of them talked about how Daryl Gallagher took this iconic 90s heroine and basically reimagined her, made Tomb Raider relevant again in the modern era. They've literally hired Daryl Gallagher to do that for Joanna Dark. So
and I think it's important to also realize where they're located. They're located in Santa Monica, and I made this point in my video that the people they're going to hire are from the surrounding areas. And within 20 miles of Santa Monica, you have Naughty Dog. You have Sony Santa Monica, which just did Gears of War. You have Treyarch. You have some of Activision Studios, some of EA's. There are a ton of quality studios in Santa Monica.
It's a ballsy play.
It is.
They're basically saying, look, here we are. We're Microsoft. We got loads of money. Come and work for us. We'll pay you this amount of money. And like it's companies poach from each other all the time. Amazon has been poaching Xbox staff left, right, and center. They poached Albert Pinello. They poached that Phil Harrison and a bunch of other people. So I can see Microsoft like.
I meant God of War. Jeez, they're giving me shit because I said Gears of War and Sony Santa Monica. Of course, I meant God of War. Jesus, flip of the tongue there, guys. God. Riot Games is also in Santa Monica. I'm just saying, like, they're going to build.
Rand just confirmed that Gears of War is better than God of War.
No, I never said that. I actually think God of War.
He totally said that.
No,
put it on Twitter.
I'm saying right now, God of War is better than Gears of War. But dude, all I'm saying is, like, the people they're going to hire at Santa Monica are going to be quality talent, and we don't know what they're building. It could be a brand new IP, but I just have a feeling it's going to be Perfect Dark and a reboot style for.
I think they're working on a AAA dark reimagining of Viva Pinata.
Ooh. But the next announcement, I think, got you probably super excited when they announced that Undead Labs was joining Microsoft Studios, because you complained that it seemed that Undead Labs didn't get the support it needed for State of Decay 2. Why weren't they using dedicated servers? Imagine if it had more of the budget. Now there is no more of that excuse. Now they're part of Microsoft Studios. Yeah. So, and they basically confirmed State of Decay 3. They, Matt Booty said this is the State of Decay team. And even though they said all these studios are incubating new ideas, that State of Decay 3 is virtually Undead Labs' next game. So, Jez, how much of improvement are you expecting for State of Decay 3 at this point, with Undead Labs being brought in?
Well, again, you have to think about it still needs developers to make that game, and Undead Labs, as of right now, they're not the biggest studio in the world. I think they are based on the West Coast. I think they are near.
Yeah,
they might even be in Seattle.
They're in Seattle.
Yeah, they are in Seattle. So like it's going to be about like if they can find those devs and those people to make it work. But the thing is, Playground Games talked about this in an interview, that like, and also this was the whole reason, some of the reasoning behind Microsoft purchasing Nokia, is that when you're working in a separate company, there's only so much help you can give and so much help you can get when you're a second party. And it's like, yeah, we wanted to help them with this and this and this, but like because we're a separate company, there's certain like secrets they couldn't divulge about the way Microsoft maybe utilizes some of the technology on the box, and things like that, company secrets that you just can't share. And you had like Nokia, when Nokia was making Windows Phone, they were basically forking Windows to make the the Windows Phone operating system better, because they couldn't get proper support from Microsoft to do the things they wanted to do with their own phones. So like it's kind of like now that Undead Labs and Playground and all those other guys are actually working under Microsoft instead of just with Microsoft, they'll have full access to Microsoft's technical experts. They'll know like they'll have like access to all the Microsoft research stuff, and telemetry that previously would have been the company secret. So I'm not expecting like Undead Labs to just suddenly jump all the way to sort of God of War quality overnight, because that's just ridiculous. But
Well, nobody said anything about God of War quality. I'm expecting a much improved sequel, though.
yeah, exactly. I'm expecting something like
I'm
that.
expecting a zombie MMO game, like what
Yeah,
I kind of wanted
I
from
think
State
it
of
is.
Decay 2, a shared online world where like me and you have a base we can build together. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
something that I felt State of Decay 2 should have been, but clearly
Very
it
true.
wasn't.
Yeah. It's just going to be like that.
So a couple shout outs here. Eternal Shaddai wants to know, do you think Phil will buy Moon Studios and Studio MDHR? Moon's been pretty outspoken about loving their independence, so I wouldn't say they would. And as far as Studio MDHR, I don't really think so either. They both would be great additions. They're both independent. They both made great games, but I don't really think so right now. And Spitfire Spud, he says the initiative will work on Shanghai Nights. I'm assuming you mean Shanghai, the Shanghai game that the coalition was working on. I mean, it's possible they take that idea and just give it to give it like a perfect dark spin, since it was supposed to be some sort of stealth game. Either way, but yeah. So after Undead Labs, which was a shocker, came Playground Games, which was to be expected. It kind of had leaked a little bit beforehand, and that they'll be working on obviously continuing Forza Horizon, which, by the way, Jez, I don't know if you saw, they did mention that Forza Horizon 3 has over 9 million players. So I mean, it's up there, and that they'll also be working on they're taking their open world experience to a brand new game. And he said, and I thought for a minute there they were going to say something, but he said, and we'll talk more about that later. Which
he almost sounded like he was going to say something then.
Yeah.
But they've got to have something for Gamescom, right?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really heard them say they're going to be at Gamescom, but I mean, we know other like websites have written about it. Like they're working on Fable, right? They're working on a reimagining of Fable, and I'm glad they bought Playground Games, because this is a quality studio, and you don't want someone like this to slip through your fingers. They have made like the best Xbox game of this gen, if you go by Metacritic, and Forza Horizon 3. They always put out a game every other year. They're building a huge team for their second studio to work on this Fable game. And I could imagine if those are successful, both critically and commercially, someone else comes along and buys them, But Microsoft did it first, so you can always look forward to those things. And then the shocker, the biggest shocker out of all of these, Jez, the one that took me aback, as I'm a great fan of theirs, was Ninja Theory.
I did not expect that at all.
Nobody expected that, because they, like Moon Studios, have been very vocal about how much they like being independent. And I've really enjoyed their last three games. I was a big fan of Enslaved Odyssey of the West, which was on the 360. Have you played that game? Tell me you've played Enslaved.
Nope.
Oh, Jazz, you need to go back and play Enslaved. Enslaved was a hidden gem on the 360. Incredible game. And then they made DMC, the reboot, which I really loved. And then, of course, their last game was Hellblade, which was a critical and commercial success. And they make, single player focused cinematic AAA action games, usually on a, indie budget. So the fact that Microsoft was able to purchase them, and if you watch the video Ninja Theory put up themselves on their YouTube channel, it's a really incredible video. And the one thing I took away from it was that they asked Microsoft for complete creative freedom in the games they make, and Microsoft said, "You got it. Make whatever you want." Which
they were very intent at putting that point across, that Microsoft has given creative freedom to Ninja Theory. And
well, apparently they've given creative freedom all five of the studios, though.
Yeah.
So, but that's I can't wait to see. And honestly, I think this was the most important one, because it's already a studio that's high caliber, that makes really good cinematic AAA single player experiences, which is what a lot of people say are sorely lacking exclusive wise on Xbox. I honestly think, given the money in the budget, because they never really had it before. They made Hellblade on $10 million. Given a big budget, given a lot of people to work on it, that 10 years from now, potentially, Ninja Theory could be Microsoft's best developer.
Maybe.
Potentially. There's a lot of potential here. God, I
like those guys.
I love Ninja Theory, and I didn't play Heavenly Sword because I didn't have a PS3 back then, but there are 3 games I played I've adored. Shout out to the Indie Gamer for the super chat. He says, "Awesome show as always, guys. Keep on rocking it." Thank you. We really enjoy that everybody does enjoy watching the podcast. But yeah, dude, Ninja Theory was out of left field for me. I didn't see it coming. And whatever they make next, they're going to make a new franchise for Microsoft. They're not going to do Hellblade 2.
Presumably, Microsoft has purchased the Hellblade franchise through the acquisition, though, right?
I mean, Ninja Theory owned the IP, so I'm assuming, yes, Microsoft now owns Hellblade IP. But Hellblade always seemed like a one-off. Hellblade always seemed to me like a singular story. You know what I mean? It didn't seem like it opened itself up for sequels. And being that they make whatever they want, I fully expect Ninja Theory to be a studio that makes new IPs for Microsoft and potential franchises.
Yeah.
And then when Phil was like, "We have a 5th studio for you," people were like starting to lose their minds. And then honestly, like, this might sound a little like, it was Compulsion Games, which not a lot of people know about. They make We Happy Few. I honestly think they kind of flubbed the order here. I think Compulsion Games should have been before Ninja Theory as the announcement, and they should have ended on Ninja Theory as the 5th studio.
I don't know, man. I mean, sure, We Happy Few is probably not going to be as critically acclaimed as Hellblade was, but the thing is, they bought Compulsion because there's something there. There's a unique, mentality and creativity there. And yeah, maybe We Happy Few won't have the best execution in the world. To be fair, we haven't seen what it's gonna be like now that it's nearing completion and they've reimagined and changed direction a little bit. It could actually be really good, but the world they built for We Happy Few, and I don't know if you actually played it when it was in beta, was
I played it when it first came out. I didn't care for it whatsoever.
Well, it was a broken game, but like, I love the art style. I love the twisted humor and stuff like that. The maybe uniquely British stuff. There's something there, I think, and they obviously see that there is something there, and maybe it'll be a complete fail, and they won't be able to pull anything off that's as good as Hellblade or anything like that. But I think like they'll have a fire to try and prove themselves and stuff, because obviously I think people kind of like, it is kind of annoying and curious because Microsoft let go press play games, which frustrates me because Deep Rock Galactic actually came out pretty good, but it's in game preview, so it's like games that hit game preview and aren't like super finished and stuff, people just sort of forget them, you know. And some games managed to pull it back, like Conan Exiles did. Conan Exiles did really well coming back out of game preview, and you know they couldn't handle the server load. There was that many people interested in playing, but it's kind of like, do I really see that happening for Deep Rock Galactic? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just sort of going off on a ramble here, but there's other studios out there.
You're going off
Where,
on a tangent about Compulsion Games.
yeah, I just mean there's sort of like almost like, why did we have to lose some of these other studios like um Press Play and that
Well,
sort of
we know
stuff?
why. We had heard why.
Yeah, I mean, we know why. It's just frustrating.
It is frustrating because it's like things could have been so much different. You know,
Yeah,
like and this goes to the whole like, look, we had heard for a long time that Microsoft was throttling the budget to Xbox. That the person in charge of Xbox, Terry Myerson, was not a fan of Xbox and didn't really let them let loose on the budget wise, right?
yeah,
I'd heard that for a long time. Jez has heard that for a long time. And it was always this thing was like, well, why aren't they doing what they should be doing? And then the second Terry Myerson leaves, gets fired from, you know, his division or whatever, Xbox gets moved out from underneath him and Phil gets promoted. What happens almost immediately? Holy crap, they actually they building a studio from the ground up in Santa Monica, which is expensive, and they purchase 4 studios the second that dude is gone. Like, how much more confirmation does anybody really need to see what happened during 2014 to 2018 when Microsoft's exclusive started to dry up and there were no more? It's because
yeah.
they weren't allowed to do that stuff. There was no budget for it. The dude leaves and there's 5 new studios. Like, come on, guys.
It's frustrating because I wrote a big editorial about this, like, you know, pulling together all the sources I've heard, you know, all about Myerson and how he throttled Xbox from achieving its true aims or its true place in Microsoft as a sort of, you know, an entity that, you know, can promote Microsoft's cloud ambitions, because games are powered by the cloud, and it's like Microsoft should be a leader there, not, you know, struggling on the back foot. But to get to that leadership position, you need the investment. And where was the investment? It was nowhere, because Terry Myerson didn't really believe in gaming, because he was a suit. You know, he was a suit. He was another Matrix. You know, and that's why he killed music and stuff like that. He didn't get consumers, like, which is fine. But he used to. I can't remember if he worked in the cloud division or the office division, but he was like Terry Myerson excelled in his business roles before. But like in the Windows, he just not had a great time, especially connecting with consumers. So, and the fact that he's gone now and that everything's suddenly different, like, that should be indicative of
it makes me upset that he's essentially the reason there, you know, potentially is not a Sunset Overdrive 2 or Quantum Break, right? Like, how much would this have been different if he wasn't in charge and Phil had, you know, the promotion right away? You know, would they have bought Remedy? Would there be a sequel to Quantum Break? Would Insomniac be working on Sunset Overdrive 2? I mean, all these things that didn't happen could have happened if it was just a little bit later in time. And it makes me like sad to even think about, because it's truly like, look, Phil said he's wanted to build first party for 4 years now, right? Like, and the thing is, he's never been able to do it. And I don't believe Phil's a liar. Phil's always been a straight shooter with me, right? If he says something, I believe it. And Phil is a genuine dude. I had conversations with him all the time about stuff. And I always went back to him and I'm like, yo, like, it's not that I don't believe you. It's like, I need to see it, right? And this is why this conference is so good to me. Is because, yeah, while the exclusives will be thin for this year and next year, Microsoft is finally showing everybody that they're not going anywhere, that they're fully invested in the future of Xbox. And that can only mean good things for everybody, because the more Microsoft competes, the more Sony has to compete, the more Nintendo has to compete. And what are they competing for? They're competing for your time and money. So while the exclusive situation is not very good at this point, it'll be so much better in a couple years, which is exactly what me and Jez have been telling everybody for what, 5 months now?
Yeah.
Like, on this podcast? Like, and it just, it makes my blood boil to know that one dude, for the most part, was behind some of the bad decisions at
Well, that's
Xbox.
why he's gone now. That's why he's gone. It's like he screwed up so much stuff. We won't go into it because I get mad. But when we've done it before, go and listen to a couple of podcasts back when we talk about all the divisions that have suffered under Myson, and it's not just his fault either. Some of this falls on Satya Nadella for not recognizing the problem sooner and enacting this grand reorganization.
I don't blame Satya, because Satya, he came from the enterprise side of Microsoft. He didn't really know much about gaming. Microsoft is a company that has 130,000 employees. They're not all going to know about each other. And I mean, Phil had to prove to Satya that the Xbox was worth keeping, and he did that. And then Meyerson got ousted, and now it's like, here, fight, dude. It's expensive to build a studio in Santa Monica. That is not a cheap studio. And then buying all these other ones, Playground Games is like 400 developers at this point, right?
Yeah.
They're acquiring 2 studios. That studio is almost as big as 343. These are not cheap acquisitions. And they said they're not done making purchases, right? So
right after the show, an Xbox executive who should remain nameless. No, not right after the show. Sorry, right after they announced their acquisitions, an Xbox executive who shall remain nameless DM'd me on Twitter and said, "This is just the start," and I was just like, "Wow." So I was like, "There it is," like Dr. Malcolm in Jurassic Park.
Now, of course, the games that these companies and these new studios have to put out have to be good. But I have faith that Ninja Theory's next game is going to be fire. I have faith that Fable is going to be, that is going to be great, and that Playground Games is the right developer to make it. I think Undead Labs has a solid foundation for State of Decay. So I think the next one will be even better, and should have been what the second one should have been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Daryl Gallagher, he's proven track record. I think whatever's going to come out for them is going to be exciting. So that's what this whole press conference was about. It's about, here's all the games coming out now, and we're not going anywhere. The future is bright, and we are proving it to you today. And that's why, to me, I'm excited. I haven't been this excited about Xbox in quite some time.
Same.
So
hey, we me and you have had some really depressing conversations about our expectations for Xbox, in DM and stuff. When it's just are they serious? And I'm just remembering Windows Phone and and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of is this for real? Is this just another slow death of another Microsoft product? And we've had stuff so many Microsoft products just killed off or ignored or just not really been able to realize their full potential because of a lack of vision in certain people at Microsoft. So hopefully now things will be different. And that press conference was about proving that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
but it's gonna take a while. That
was the big thing for Microsoft's press conference for me. I'm sure it was for you too, Jez, right? That whole section there. But they weren't done. They still had so much to show. They showed off We Happy Few, which I think is coming out on August 10th. It's published by Gearbox.
They still hitting PlayStation 2 as well.
Still coming to PlayStation. Phil said he didn't want to take the game away from anybody. PUBG, they showed that the new map, Sang Hook, is coming in summer, and that there's a winter map coming at the end of the year, plus a new mode. Would have been nice if I saw a little something that said frame rate's going to be 30 frames per second locked. I know 60 is impossible at this point, but come on, PUBG. They showed off Tales of Vesperia, which I know a lot of people like. The Division 2 got a demo. It's coming out March 15th. And then they had the Xbox Game Pass segment, which was probably the lowest point of the conference because it felt like it could have just all been presented in Xbox Newswire posting. But I understand why it was there, because they want to reiterate and bang the drums about Game Pass because of how important it is. So they talked about Fast Start. which is being able to get in your games 2 times faster, which is coming in June. Master Chief Collection, Ashhammer, Warhammer, Afterparty are all going to be coming to Game Pass in the future, like Ash and Warhammer and Afterparty on day one. Division, Elder Scrolls Online, and Fallout 4 were putting Game Pass immediately. And Phil talked a lot about Game Pass on Giant Bomb's interview. I don't know if you saw that, Jez. He said that they found people who subscribe to Game Pass play more games and buy more games, which he thought was surprising. There's a nice little breakdown of some stuff on that Giant Bomb interview. If you guys didn't see it, talks a lot about the Game Pass stuff. They showed off the sizzle reel for ID at Xbox, which you knew was going to happen. There's some cool looking games coming out there. They showed off a trailer for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is coming out September 14th. I got to say, between the Shadow of the Tomb Raider stuff here and the Shadow of the Tomb Raider stuff at Square Enix, kind of was disappointing. What do you think, Jez? Okay, Jez isn't here, so I will keep on talking. I'm not going to do a Jez impersonation because I can't really do UK accents. They showed off Skate 4. Session, which is a console launch exclusive. Then he went into Black Desert Online, which is a console launch exclusive. And then one of the other big surprises for the show, Devil May Cry 5, which everybody said, including myself, was that it was going to be at Capcom's, it was going to be at Sony's show, and that it was going to be exclusive in some way or form or fashion to PlayStation. But it showed up at Microsoft's, and it looked really good. At first, I was like, is this DMC 2? Because he had the white hair from the original, and I was like, wait, that kind of looks like Dante from the remake. And it wasn't. It was Nero from DMC from DMC. But man, that game looked really good. Like, I'm surprised. Like, I do like Devil May Cry quite a bit, but I didn't enjoy 4. Like, I really enjoyed 1 and 3. I didn't like 4 that much. Oh, is Jez back? I think Jez is here. He dropped out. We got 3 Jez's in here now, it looks like.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh.
We got 2 Jez's in here.
Interesting. I got disconnected.
You want me to just boot your other one?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, so everybody say goodbye to Cat Jez. We have Beard Jez now.
You have Windows Central, Jez. Oh, God, what does it always log me into this account every single time? Oh well, I don't think people mind Beard Jez.
You don't think they mind? I don't think Beard Jez is a cool dude. I mean, Cat Jez, he can be a diva sometimes. So I was just talking about Devil May Cry 5. You have any thoughts on that?
Devil May Cry 5. I haven't played Devil May Cry 4, so I need to go back and refresh my memory. I bought the HD collection so I could go back and play it, but it looked like they were responding directly to fan feedback over the DMC reboot and stuff like that. And some people weren't happy about that reboot. I don't know if you saw that run.
Which one? Which one?
The DMC reboot. People weren't happy about that.
I love the DMC reboot. Screw what other people said.
Yeah, but it felt like they were responding to feedback about the DMC reboot with DMC 5, I thought. Maybe I'm wrong.
A #1 Magna Freak says, Reset Era is reacting to you. This is the beginning quote, Jazz. Uh-oh, you made headlines on Reset Era again. Those guys. Hi, Reset Era. I know there's quite a few people that actually watched the show from Reset Era.
There is a really great community on Reset Era from the Xbox team, but the Xbox side. But man, some of those guys are really mean.
Yeah, especially I remember the thread where it was Jason Schreier versus Jez Corden last week.
Oh God,
that was
what
fun.
a lovely man he is.
That was fun. So what did you want to say anything about the Game Pass stuff? Because I think that's where you dropped out.
I think I was just saying, like, they just want to let people know that it exists. I think because like most people still don't know what it is, I would presume. So like, there's an element there of, yes, Game Pass is real. Yes, this is the value. Yes, we want you to know about it. I kind of that's the feeling I get about why they announced that there like they did. So,
And Cuphead DLC coming next year.
yes.
Yay!
And now there's females in Cuphead, which
Yeah, I know, right?
isn't historically accurate.
Females in Battlefield, and females in Assassin's Creed, and females in Gears of War, and females in Wolf. Now they got a female in Cuphead. I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done. I'm done with gaming.
Yeah. And then Phil got back up on stage and he said everything after is never seen before. He showed a trailer for Jump Force from Bandai Namco, and I guess if you're an anime fan, this was like the holy grail because it was like Naruto and it was One Piece and it was Death Note. And
yeah, I was watching that and I was like rolling my eyes, but then I realized like those franchises have so many fans of a certain age, and it was one of the most watched trailers of the show for a bit.
Dude, 3 of my friends I game with on daily are huge, and I mean huge in the anime. And every time they talk about it, I just like zone out. They're like, "Dude, did you watch One Piece?" Like, "Yeah." "Did you check out My Hero Academia?" And I'm like, and I've been sitting there and I'm like, "Dude, did you check out what's that one they always talk about? Some like baby one or something, like babies or some shit. I don't know. I'm sure
you're just not a man of culture."
I guess I'm not, man. Like I know Dragon Ball. I used to watch Dragon Ball with my brother back in the day, but
use your words.
I know, right? Use your words, Rand. Use your words. But no, man, like I have a few like every day like, I'm like, "Did you check out the new episode of Kumikami or whatever?" And I'd be like, "Oh my god, are we really gonna talk about anime right now? Please."
I like I like Dragon Ball Z as a kid. Yeah, I love that show. My brother's a huge One Piece fan. It's almost like there's like a 5-year gap between each franchise. Like my younger brother and sister, they love One Piece, and I love Dragon Ball Z, and I quite like Death Note as well, and I think one of my other siblings likes Naruto, but those franchises are huge, so bringing them all together is almost like a no-brainer, really. Like when I saw the Death Note stuff at the end, I was like, "Oh wow, seriously?" But it looked like a fun little game. Yeah. It's like a fighting game, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it's like a fighting game, like the Dragon Ball Z one that just came out.
Interesting.
So after that, we had Dying Light 2 demo, which I thought looked pretty cool. Like I was a fan of Dying Light 1.
See, now that is one thing I did know before the conference, and it was hard not to leak that. It was hard, I tell you. We talked about that, right?
And then we got a tease for Battletoads, the game that
I did not see that coming.
The game that nobody asked for?
Dude, are you serious?
I mean, look.
There's a meme of people.
I know, but Battletoads wasn't that good of a game in the first place.
Oh, no way. Did you just say that?
I did say that.
Oh, no way.
I did.
You got 4chan coming after you, man.
I know. Well, not only did I say Ori is better than Last of Us 2, I just said, who wants a new Battletoads in 2019?
Well, the teased art style immediately put me off.
I don't know. What is the teased art style? Is it just like what, the 2.5D stuff?
It looks kind of stylized, kind of like Guacamelee.
I like Guacamelee.
I like Guacamelee, but not for Battletoads. I wanted that pixelized like Sonic Mania. I was hoping it'd be like that, classic, sort of. Give us something truly classic with a classic feel. Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game in years because it really appeals to that core fan base. I don't think they should reimagine Battletoads for the modern era. I think they should just like recreate what made it so, maybe great's the wrong word to use, but just sort of recapture that Battletoads feel. I don't think they need to change the art style. Yeah. But that's me.
I'm just like you, Madman. You actually went and didn't. We're gonna have a new Battletoads game in 2019, which I guess makes sense. They did Rare Replay a couple years ago. They put Thrash and Killer Instinct. And speaking of Killer Instinct, where the heck is Killer Instinct? Like, are they done with that franchise now, or what?
I don't know. I mean, my interview at E3 was with Mike Ibarra. If I had an interview with Matt Booty or Phil, I would have asked that question, but I expected Mike probably wouldn't have known
Yeah,
what the status
Mike
is.
isn't the game guy. Even though he knows all about the games, he's not really the guy you ask about games. That's not
Yeah.
his
So
area.
like, yeah. So I was, I don't know. I was kind of like, on the one hand, I kind of get it. Making trying to compete in fighting games is hard because it's so tied up with the fighting game community, and they're very sort of picky and choosy about what they play. Um, I think like Killer Instinct was at Evo a couple of years, but or like 1 year, but it just never gained that kind of traction that a fighting game needs. I don't know why. Maybe some like hardcore fighting game expert can tell me on Twitter sometime why it never caught on, but it just didn't catch on. So I'm not I'm not surprised if Microsoft drops that franchise because they're competing with established IP that in a very, very sort of niche sort of market. I don't know.
Right. Let's see what else we got here. Then they showed off Just Cause 4, which is coming out this year, December 4th, and I'll reiterate again. I think everyone's going to go broke if they try to buy every game that comes out this holiday because it seems like everything's shifted forward a month because September's packed when it's usually not. October is packed, and November seems light. Like November is literally just Hitman 2 and Fallout. But like everything shifted a month forward. It's kind of weird. And then they ended on 3 Gears of War games. So the rumor about 3 Gears game was correct.
Yes, it was.
The one about a battle royale game was wrong. So they started like, okay, Jez, I'm gonna set the scene for you, right?
I'm so glad the battle royale one was wrong.
So I set the scene. The Just Cause thing ended. It was world premiere, Microsoft Studios, and people are like starting to perk up because anytime it's a Microsoft Studios games, Xbox fans kind of perk up a little. And it was the gear symbol on the wall, and the crowd went crazy, right? The crowd, you could hear like, yeah. So I was like, okay, Gears of War. People still love Gears of War, right? Then the chainsaw through the wall, and out comes Pop Marcus. And that crowd went from 0 to 100 back to 0 faster than a crowd I've ever seen in my life.
Like, it was almost like a Rickroll.
Yeah. The air went completely out of that room.
I thought it was funny. I knew we knew there was more coming, but I kind of felt like there's more coming. There's no way they can tease like that and then
they're and granted they spent what a 30-second trailer on Gears Pop. It's coming to iOS and Android, not Windows Phone. Rip Windows Phone, right?
It's not even coming to Surface tablets.
Yeah. So and then Rod came out. Literally was like, we want to bring Gears of War to new places. That's why we did Gears Pop on phone and why we're doing Gears Tactics on the PC, which I literally did a video about yesterday and we'll talk about in a minute. But Gears Tactics is that rumored XCOM spinoff from Splash Damage, which is a Windows 10 exclusive. But then they got to, of course, the main reason they were there, and that's Gears of War 5 or just Gears 5. Just Gears 5, not Gears of War. Phil said he's cool with just remaining Gears 5, but he said Rod wants it to be Gears of War 5. And if people want it to stay Gears 5, they have to convince Rod about it. So it's coming in 2019.
What do you think? Gears or Gears of War 5?
Gears 5 is fine with me. Gears 5. And so Kate is now the new main character, which makes sense, makes story sense after what happened at the end of Gears 4.
But Rand, what about historical accuracy?
Oh, my women's. They're taking over gaming. What am I going to do? So Kate's the main character, and there's obviously some sort of time jump because JD Phoenix, I didn't even recognize at first. He's bald, he's got a scar, his like right arm is like broken somehow, which needs like a thing to keep him from hurting. Although it looks like Marcus is younger than JD now. What?
No, never mind.
Were you going to say that you didn't know that was JD?
Maybe.
You didn't know that was JD.
I think I missed that completely. That it was JD.
Yeah, it was the main character from the first game.
Oh my god!
Signifying the time skip. Like his bald head, his scar on his eye. It said Phoenix right on his chest plate. Who else was it?
You have to remember, I was working throughout that. And
I know. And So she leaves, and they go off in this kind of like adventure, like Ice World. Seems to be a different focus on Gears of War, and they've talked about that in some of the interviews. That they're taking more risks with it, which is what people wanted. That this one's going to be more open world-ish, I think.
Yeah, I just wonder about that. Are they going full blown open world, or is it going to be large, wide connected hubs or something? I don't
I
know.
don't know. I mean, they got criticized for Gears 4 being too much like Gears, and if they do change it, I hope they don't get criticized for changing it too much. It's like, well, what do you want? Do you want a Gears that changes, or do you want a Gears that stays the same?
Yeah.
But it's coming next year, 2019. So Gears leapfrogged Halo, but the thing I want to ask you about is this Gears Tactics. Why is it on PC only, Jez? What's up with this? Like,
Well,
let me say, it's an XCOM game. There are XCOM games on console. The game can be perfectly played with a controller. This isn't StarCraft. This isn't Warcraft. This isn't anything like that. It's an XCOM game which is perfectly playable on the controller. And I'm just confused by why PC exclusives can stay PC, but yet Xbox games never stay exclusive and always come to PC. It's a little weird to me.
well, what I expect is from talking to people at Microsoft, my expectation is that, and also this is from GDC stuff as well. They do these post-mortems where they examine what went wrong about a game and what went right, stuff like that. And some of the issues with Halo Wars 2 was they developed a console game and a PC game side by side. By doing so, in this sort of tactical game, they sort of kind of screwed up the feel of what an RTS should be. So, like, they couldn't really make Halo Wars feel good on PC at the same time as making it feel good on console. Halo Wars was too simplistic. So, like, I think what they might be trying to do here is to focus on making it a good PC game first, rather than develop it in parallel with console and get distracted by console and console conventions and try and make a one-size-fits-all game. Instead, I think they're going to make it for PC first and then bring it to Xbox later. Kind of like what they did with XCOM originally. Like XCOM Enemy Unknown didn't launch on console; it came later. So,
Right,
I think it will come to console, just not
because XCOM games, they're turn based. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see how. Like, I get it with Halo Wars because that is an RTS. RTS games play better on PC, like, without a doubt. You need to dumb.
There's another thing at play here, and like they're not just making a Gears Tactics game for the sake of it. They're making a Gears XCOM game because it's turn based, and it's an ideal game to play with a touchscreen. It's an ideal game to play from the cloud where latency isn't a big deal. That I think there's more to Gears Tactics than just making an XCOM Gears game. I think they're going to bring this thing to their Andromeda operating system, which is for new tablets. I think they're gonna use this as a flagship game for streaming services because the latency won't matter as much. And in that vein, I think they will bring it to console too, because why wouldn't they? I mean, it's the number one thing people ask me about. Is this game coming to Xbox? It's UWP. There's literally no reason why it couldn't come to Xbox later, because it's UWP. I think it almost definitely will. XCOM's proven it can work. Age of Empires is different because it's a high input game. I don't think you're ever going to get Age of Empires on console unless it was dumbed down to hell. So I can see Age of Empires staying exclusive, but XCOM has totally proved that turn-based tactics works on console. So I think they'd be doing a disservice.
It's a little weird, Jez. Xbox gamers pay for Xbox Live. PC gamers on Xbox don't pay for Xbox Live, and they get their own exclusives. Just a little weird. You know what I mean? just a tad weird.
Well, tell Microsoft that.
Oh, I've said that to people. They know.
They know.
Here's the thing. I don't complain on Twitter and elsewhere. I send my feedback where it can be heard. Just, crying and complaining on Twitter. Yeah, well, not only that, I direct line people You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't sit there and whine, complain, like I just send a DM or I send a message, and I'm like, listen, this is the issue. See what you can do. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not one of those people that needs to complain about everything on Twitter. Like, I don't, either way, whatever. Whatever. So this is where they ended the show, and we're really, Phil talked about how their hardware team is neck deep into building the next Xbox, which people were shocked. People were like, "What? The X just came out 8 months ago. What? New Xbox already? What? What? They're like." Their minds are blown, and they're like, how could Microsoft expect people to buy this next system? The X just released. This is unacceptable. And this is coming from PlayStation fans, and considering... And it's funny when they say that, because it's like, do they realize Sony's had the same as many iterations this gen that Microsoft has? And it's like, no, of course they don't. There was the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. The Xbox One X, S, and then the PlayStation 4 Slim, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the Xbox One X. And guess what? They're both going to have new consoles in 2020. They both literally are going to release the same amount of consoles in the same amount of years. And that people are like, well, new Xbox already. Oh my God. Like it I don't know. It doesn't feel right. It feels like people are just, once again, stuck in the whole console war thing. But either way, it was nice to see the transparency from Phil basically saying, yeah, but, because this whole conference was about the future of Xbox. Like, we're buying new studios so you can have the games to play. We hear you that we're light on exclusives, so we're buying new studios.
It was basically Phil Spencer's vision that he's wanted to do since he became leader. It kind of feels like. This is my Xbox, guys. Here it is. I'm introducing it to you now. I don't know.
Yeah. So then they ended on Cyberpunk, just like Rand predicted they would. Sometimes Rand can be good at predictions.
You were good at predictions. I believed your prediction, but then I also heard that Cyberpunk would be opening the show, weirdly, from somewhere.
Well, Phil did say today, during the Giant Bomb interview, that Halo, as of last week, Halo Infinity was not opening up the show.
Oh.
So it's possible they move things around. Maybe the Cyberpunk game was opening up the show, and the Halo one was closing it. But
I think like that fact speaks to Microsoft wanting to. That was a shout out to developers. I kind of feel like, because like I noticed in an interview earlier where Phil was doing an interview on Mixer, and they were like, "So, what's your favorite game that you're playing at the minute?" And he said I am playing State of Decay a lot, but I'm not gonna hype State of Decay because that's our game. So he, instead of trying to advertise an Xbox game, he chose to advertise one of his partners' games instead. So I think that Cyberpunk closing the show is kind of like a shout out to devs and just saying that we're going to start ramping up our own production and essentially compete with you, but we also want to be the best place to make games and stuff like that. So,
well, yeah, because
that kind of speaks to Phil's character that it closed the show.
Yeah, because I could totally see Halo Infinity closing the show now, Yeah. But the way the Cyberpunk thing went, where they hacked the show literally,
that was amazing.
That was really good, and judging from all the press, people are like over the moon about Cyberpunk. It got people talking, and this was Xbox's best conference of this generation by far. Like, like it's amazing to see. And I know me and you were having a back and forth in DMs after it ended, because you were concerned that I didn't like the show for whatever reason. You were like, "What'd you think? What'd you think? What'd you think?" And because I could tell you were pumped, and I was like, "I thought it was really good." And then I said,
"Nah," you were like, "I hated it."
No. Like, so I said to Jess, I'm like, still doesn't answer the fact that there's really light on exclusives for the next couple years, and there was no new IP, which are my two biggest kind of like, negative takeaways. Like, yeah, it's just Forza Horizon as an exclusive for the rest of the year. And then 2019, yeah, okay, you got Gears and you have Ori and you have a couple other ones. But I was like, I wanted to see, and even though I knew there was going to be no exclusives, and like it's still like I wanted to see it. And you were just like, "Why do you care so much about exclusives, Rand? What's the matter with you?"
Wow.
And then you thought I was going to give it
Wow.
what? What?
Wow.
That's you did not you typed that to me.
I don't sound like that.
Oh, I know you don't. But I can't do the UK. I can't do the UK accent.
Haven't you been practicing?
No, I haven't been.
Oh.
So no, I told you I love the show. Like, yeah, I have some issues with the fact that the exclusives aren't here right now, but clearly they'll be there in the future. And you know, some people like, oh, you get hyped up about the future and stuff. It's like here's the thing, I've always been satisfied with the Xbox. And having a PlayStation to sit alongside of it to play games like Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us 2 makes me just content to be a gamer because I have everything, you know, playing on the Xbox on the X. And then when Sony puts out a great exclusives, I play that day one too. And if Nintendo ever gets their act together about actually releasing games, I'll play some games on the Switch. You know? And Chris Hopsey says, Rand, you shouldn't ask a big company as Microsoft to release games, damn it. What are you doing? I've had that conversation I've literally had that conversation with Phil. Literally. I was like, Phil, bro, I need games, man. What are you doing about the game situation? And you know, I wonder like how much you just wanted to tell people, shut up, we just bought 5 studios. It's coming, trust me. You know?
I was messaging Phil and I was like, yo, where's my games tactics for Xbox? It's like he's just announced all this stuff and people are still just asking him for stuff. Like, where's my Sea of Thieves fishing?
Yeah.
I said on Twitter, like, I want everyone at E3 to go and pester Joe Nee from Rare about fishing. And I'm not going to shut up I'm going to bang on about fishing so much that the community will beg Rare to put fishing in just to shut me up. That's where I'm at.
So before we end the show, let's talk about this next-gen Xbox, shall we? A lot of information's come out about it. You had to retract an article, or at least Windows Central had to retract an article, right?
Yeah.
About how, like...
That was fun. That was fun.
Yes, about how they said it was going to be announced next year or something, but apparently it was a mistranslation. But Brad Sims has seen documents which point to Xbox 2 launching in 2020 and being a family of devices of some kind. Have you heard anything about this, Jazz? You know the documents he speaks of, perhaps?
I tried. It's funny, you know. I tried to dig up those documents, but I ended up finding a bunch of other leaks instead. But Windows Central wrote about Project Scarlet months ago. I just want to put that out there. But it wasn't me. It was actually Zach Bowden. So Zach Bowden, at the start of 2018, Zach Bowden on Windows Central, he's our Windows Surface guy typically, but he's the king of leaks. Like, seriously, no one comes close to Zach. He collects prototype hardware. He's obsessed with this stuff. Like, he's pretty amazing. So like he wrote in his 2018 Microsoft predictions that we might start hearing more about Scarlet, which is some kind of project under the Xbox team. We don't know if it's a new console yet. That's the context Brad Sams provided, but we are hearing that it's some kind of family of devices. Now this is where it gets interesting, Rand, because we've heard on Windows Central that it is a family of devices. So it's not just the console. We've seen Scarlett referenced alongside audio drivers. So it could be we've seen evidence to suggest that Microsoft might be working on some kind of speaker replacement for Kinect. I know not many people are going to be interested in that, but there is a possibility there that there is going to be like a bunch of other accessories that go along with this. Optional accessories, obviously, that maybe enhance the overall usability of this product. So it seems like Scarlett is going to be a pervasive hardware family of accessories, not just a console. So it's interesting, potentially, what could be going on here. I don't know, but I'm sure we'll start seeing more information about it, especially now that Microsoft now has a skip ahead ring on the Xbox, which sometimes gives away secrets of its own.
And Phil said in the Giant Bomb thing that he wanted people to know and be transparent that there is another console coming, and which everybody should know. I mean, there's another PlayStation coming, and it's called the PS5. It'll be here pretty soon. Um, and I will say though, like I don't expect it next year. So it was kind of weird to see them come out and tease it already for something that is potentially 2 years away.
Phil explained on an interview why he did that.
Well, I know why he did it. I'm just saying it's just still weird. Like I understand the reasonings behind it.
Well,
It's
let's.
just
I mean, for people who don't know, I mean, Phil said basically like he wanted to reiterate commitment to console hardware because there is this narrative that Microsoft wants to focus on the cloud or they want to focus on mobile and stuff like that. But he just wanted to like put it out there that no, we are still going to make console hardware similarly to how the Surface team continues to make PC hardware, even though the PC industry is very, very well catered for in almost every category. Microsoft do flagship PC hardware to showcase the best of Windows. And I kind of feel like even if cloud streaming gets really good, it's never going to be perfect. And even if like playing games on your mobile phone becomes the norm, it's never going to be that experience that a native gameplay experience can provide. And I think Xbox will continue to invest there. And I think that's why you wanted to put that out there, even though it's really early. They just wanted to reassure people who would be freaking out about them talking about cloud but not hardware. He just wanted to cover all of his bases, And I think they did that pretty well.
Yeah. So new consoles are always exciting times. And that's what Microsoft in this press conference was really all about, was about the future. That you should feel confident in playing your games here and all that stuff. And don't worry, the games are coming. Here's our commitment. Here's action instead of just talking about it. Like we did this.
Yeah.
And we're not going anywhere. The new consoles are being made because there is always that narrative, because there is always idiots out there that say Microsoft doesn't care about Xbox. They do. It may not be as high on the priority list as it used to be, but like they care deeply about gaming. And Phil has said repeatedly that the console is important to him and they'll always have it, basically.
Yeah, Phil, he always says I primarily play on console.
Yeah, but there's always those people out there where they'll always try to put the opposite narrative, that Microsoft is about to leave the gaming industry and all that stuff. So I don't know why anybody would pay attention to anybody like that, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Did you briefly want to talk anything that excites you from the Sony press conference at all?
No, I didn't. Again, the Sony press conference is at stupid o'clock in the UK. I did start watching it. I watched the first bit, and then when they had that big intermission, it was like 3 a.m. or something. And I was just like, you know what? I can't be bothered to watch this. So I went to.
So what do you think of The Last of Us 2?
It was unbelievable.
Does it make you want to play it, man? Like, do you want to play Last of Us 1 now?
Dude, I've always wanted to play Last of Us, but again, it's hard to justify buying a whole console just for a few exclusives, especially when I don't have as much time as I used to have, I just can't justify it still. It's like, and the longer it goes on, it's like, basically, it's backlog management for me. It's like I'm adding a bunch of games to my backlog, and I haven't even cleared my backlog on Xbox. I'm just satisfied with my Xbox. I'm really sad that I'll not get to play these games, but I'm also not sad that I won't have to sink hundreds of pounds to buy the console, because I don't earn that much money. It's not like I have to think.
Reach out to Sony; they'll hook you up with the PlayStation.
Well, Rand, I don't have fans who buy me stuff.
I'm saying you reach out to PlayStation directly.
They're not going to give me one. We don't cover PlayStation.
But now you will.
Android Central covers PlayStation for some reason.
The Last of Us 2 did look pretty incredible. I know what I love the transition from the kiss to the kill. I thought that was
the animation. Transition. The animation, it just looked unreal.
It's Naughty Dog, baby. It's Naughty Dog.
Unreal. It's like what they're called now, the Square Enix's CGI unit, who make like those CGI movies, and and Blizzard Entertainment CGI unit, which I don't know who they use for their CGI, but Blizzard CGI cinematics are usually just incredible, and you know the World of Warcraft movies CGI and stuff like that, and this is in game footage, was it? Apparently,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I,
just
it,
insane.
I'm not saying.
Attention to detail.
I felt it was a tad scripted, like some of the encounters, but you know, it is what it is for a demo like that. But yeah, that's how Last of Us is. So you didn't.
It was just mind blowing.
Well, what about
Devs like that elevate the medium as a whole.
There's a reason why people love Naughty Dog. You know,
They're
um,
a stunning studio.
what about Control from Remedy?
Now, I actually haven't seen the full trailer for Control yet, but I've seen stills and GIFs and stuff like that. And also, I've seen the narrative that people are saying already that it's the assets from Quantum Break 2 that never happened.
It's like Quantum Break Second Chance Edition.
Yeah. The story, the whole story there just makes me disappointed. If that truly is that, if that game truly would have been Quantum Break 2 and Microsoft didn't pick it up, even during the Mycen era, if Microsoft invested in other areas instead of Quantum Break 2, that just makes me sad. I'd frankly rather have Quantum Break 2 than Mixer, for example. And I know that's probably not the best business decision.
Hey, you're a Mixer partner. You shouldn't say that.
I know I'm a Mixer partner, and I shouldn't say that, but it's my honest feeling. You know, it's like, you know, I love Mixer, but it's at the same time, it's like, I really want Quantum Break 2. I want to see the resolution of the story. I want the mysteries to be panned out. And I know it's not having, if you have to choose between platform investments like Mixer and funding like big budget games like that, which probably might not do that well, especially if Quantum Break didn't do that well, which apparently it didn't. And the business decision is, you make platform investments like Mixer and stuff like that, but it just makes me sad, man. I really, really wanted Quantum Break 2, and it doesn't look like we'll ever get it.
Well, yeah, we will. It's called Control.
Yeah, but it's different lore, man.
Merc has a question for you, Jazz.
Go on.
So he says, Jazz, you know why you're satisfied with Xbox? Because you have not played these Sony games. If you did, you would hold Microsoft to a higher standard. #facts.
Well, maybe it's true, Maybe it's true.
I still think you need to get a PlayStation and just spend a weekend or a week just playing Last of Us, play God of War, play Uncharted. Well, I wouldn't tell you to play all the Uncharted. I would play.
It's super hard, man. It's super hard for me. Like, I went out and bought the I bought the I bought the Fallout 76 collector's edition with the stupid power helmet, right? I pre-ordered it, and I was like, "What am I doing? I can't afford this. It's just a plastic helmet. Am I ridiculous?" So I canceled the pre-order. But it's like, I'm trying to like save for my future and stuff, and it's.
All right, you know what? I'll buy you a PlayStation. There we go.
Don't be ridiculous.
I'll buy you a PlayStation,
dude. I won't let you buy me a PlayStation.
So you can play Last of Us, and you can play Ghost of Tsushima.
Dude, I will not let you.
You need to go watch the trailer for Ghost of Tsushima and tell me that does not excite you. Tell me that does not look like.
Dude, these games look amazing. They look amazing. I'm not even vaguely trying to downplay how amazing they look. It's just logistics.
And Spider-Man? Oh my god! Did you see the Spider-Man trailer? Oh my god! You know what? I will say, I've had enough of Death Stranding. The game's still confusing as hell. We've seen like four trailers for it. I'm off the Death Stranding hype train until I actually see what the game is about. I'm sorry.
They're taking liberties now. Kojima thinks he's David Lynch or something. They're taking liberties. They need to come out and say what that game is. Otherwise, it's just going to get ridiculous.
Yeah, and you were really excited about Resident Evil 2 remake, right?
Resident Evil 2 remake's my game of the show, easily, by far, I would say. Resident Evil 2 is like Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7 are the two games that got me into gaming, like made me like addicted to gaming. I was obsessed with Resident Evil 2 as a kid. I played it to death. Did every scenario. I had dreams about that game. Have you ever played a game so much that you dream about it?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think I ever have. No.
It's like I still have Resident Evil 2 dreams even now. Even though it's like I was addicted to that game like when I was like what 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. I have Resident Evil 2 dreams, man. And so that's just my dream game. It's my game of the show. Like some of the footage. There's like Shinobi posted a 17-minute trailer, which a gameplay footage, which shows like some of the most amazing uh, shotgun collision damage and it's just some amazing gore effects, man. I'm so excited for that game. I can't even tell you. And I was worried that they were going to be like, yeah, here's the gameplay footage, and then not announce the release date. I didn't expect it so soon, so that was like the cherry on top, man. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for that game more than anything else. I think.
Well, that is the Sony show because I know you really watch it, and realistically, this show's almost approaching 3 hours.
Oh
We had a
wow.
lot to talk about. We had to go over everything at E3, so we're gonna end the show now. Sorry, no questions because I am actually kind of getting tired. Like do a
Oh
real
really?
podcast, and it's like, oh.
Can we do like 3 questions maybe?
All right, we'll do 3 questions. Jess says 3 questions. Hit us up with the questions, and then we'll end the show.
Oh Jesus, it's 1 in the morning.
I'm just saying, man. Like we had a lot to talk about. But all in all, like I thought it was. I thought E3 was really good. There's a lot of great, amazing games coming out. I still think PlayStation has better exclusives, but I am still really excited for the future for Xbox. So, um, let's go with some questions. Leandro Prel, he wants to know do we know if We Happy Few will be available through Xbox Game Pass? They didn't talk specifically about it,
Oh,
even though it's now a Microsoft Studios game. It's not a Microsoft Studios game because Gearbox is still publishing it, so I would imagine it's not on Game Pass. They would have said so if it was, right?
yeah, I reckon so.
So, uh, Di Almighty Spartan God wants to know if I'm going back to Xbox centric for the channel. Have I always been Xbox centric? I mean,
Eh?
haven't I? I don't know.
Uh,
I mean, I mostly do Xbox content. I'll do PlayStation stuff here and there, but I've always thought um, I mostly am an Xbox channel. I don't think anything's going to change. Whatever I want to talk about is whatever I want to talk about. Um, let's see what else we got here. Rand, talk about the PS5 Navi. No idea what that is. I have no idea what the PS5 Navi is. I know people have been hitting me up with talking about something AMD has for the PlayStation 5, but I'm not a tech dude. I've never pretended to be a tech guy, so I have no clue what that even means. Virgil Delgado wants to know, Jez and Rand, what do you guys think about Devil May Cry 5 actually not being PlayStation exclusive? I can't wait to play it next year.
Um, I saw those rumors that it was going to be PlayStation exclusive.
Yes, you
Uh,
did.
it is. I thought that'd be a big blow to Xbox, but I'm glad it isn't because that means the whole Devil May Cry collection is on Xbox still.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, but any games like that, are awesome to get on Xbox.
Skilled HD wants to know our thoughts on the Fortnite crossplay debacle. We actually kind of started off the podcast with that, so you can just I don't know go back to like 15 minutes in the podcast. We went over the entirety of it. Logan McDaniel wants to know, Ryan and Jez, what do you think about this being the first generation without a new Medal of Honor game or a modern Medal of Honor game backwards compatible?
I've never played Medal of Honor, so I can't comment.
They brought it back for the 360. The first one did pretty well. The second one bombed and destroyed the series, and they were turned into. They basically became the studio that did Star Wars Battlefront for EA. I don't know. Like the Medal of Honor games to me were never as good as Call of Duty, and it's just when Call of Duty became so big, Medal of Honor just became like an also ran. That just wasn't as good or as successful. And when EA, I think the nail in the coffin was when EA got the Star Wars license and needed to pump out Star Wars games. And it was like, we spent the whole money on Star Wars. We need developers to make it. You're making a Medal of Honor, which doesn't make us anything. You're now making Star Wars. You know what I mean? So I think that had something to do with it. Sit Reborn 311 wants to know: do you think Ninja Theory will re-release remastered previous games like Heavenly Sword, even if they must pay for IP and Enslaved?
Hmm.
I no, I don't, because Ninja Theory doesn't own their IPs. Sony owns Heavenly. Well, no, Ninja Theory owns Hellblade. Ninja Theory does not own Heavenly Sword because PlayStation owns that. Enslaved, I think was God. Who made Enslaved? Was that Bando Namkai or somebody else? But I don't think Hellblade owns that, or Ninja Theory owns that either. So no, I could see maybe some of their games becoming backwards compatible, which DMC already is, and hell, DMC's already has an Xbox One version. But I don't really see that happening. Do you, Jez?
No, I think they're going to just focus on the future now. I can see them maybe exploring more content in the Halo and the Hellblade universe, possibly.
And shout out for the do for the super chat. He wants to know: did any of E3 Sony exclusives have any multiplayer? They have confirmed that Last of Us 2 will have multiplayer coming back. And they also announced today that Last of Us has sold over 17 million copies, which is pretty damn amazing. 17 million copies in 5 years.
That's incredible.
And it does have multiplayer, and the sequel will have multiplayer. We don't know anything about Death Stranding. I don't think they said anything about Ghost of Tsushima having multiplayer. Spider-Man doesn't, but Last of Us does. And yes, this was more than 3 questions, but hey, when there are good ones, you gotta ask them. You gotta answer the questions. Let's see. Question from Victor wants to know: do you know anything about Moon Studios' other IP? I don't know anything about their other
I don't know
IP. Do
anything
you?
about that. Nope.
Nope.
Not a thing.
Are you super excited for Ori like I am?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love Ori in the Blind Forest. You know, I love Metroidvania type games. But yeah, you know, it's not like it's not the top of my list because there's no blood and guts and death and violence, but you know, it's up there.
Mambo Jazz wants to know: will Ninja Theory make games just for Microsoft, or will they continue to be on PlayStation? Going forward, they will only make games for Microsoft.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Matt Booty said that. I'm positive Phil said that. Dark Riku wants to know: do you think there's a chance Sony buys Insomniac in response to Microsoft buying 5 studios? Well, I mean, Sony already has a bunch of studios, and they probably could have bought Insomniac before if they wanted to, but Insomniac also values their independence.
It also depends how much floating capital Sony has. I think Sony's investments should be in the cloud right now. If they actually they want to continue to compete on you know in the future on that level, they should be looking to invest more in the cloud than into their first party. Their first party is completely solid. The only reason Microsoft's investing so heavily in their first party right now is because it's their weakest area. So Microsoft has the cloud bit down, they've got the hardware bit down, they're sorting out the first party now. Whereas Sony has the opposite problem: no cloud or very very bad cloud platform.
There is the rumor that they are building a new studio, a secret studio right now that's going to work on Uncharted games in the future.
Because Naughty Dog wants to move on, right?
Yeah, Naughty Dog. Yeah, they don't want to do Uncharted anymore. But I mean, I imagine Sony's like, yeah, we don't want to not make Uncharted games anymore, so maybe they'll build another studio. But I mean, who knows? And Cali Rex, this will be the last question we take. He wants to know if Jez will get a PS4 at any point. He will, bro. He will. I'll make him get a PS4.
I'd honestly love to, you know, but it's just logistics. Like, I want to take my girlfriend on vacation. She really deserves one. I want to save a bit of money, and every time I think about getting one, it's just like, but my backlog, you know, I don't need one. I'm trying to be like smart with my money.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good for me on Xbox because, you know, I get a lot of the games as review copies, and I'm really, really lucky and privileged to be able to say that. But it wouldn't be the case on PlayStation. Like, it'd cost me a lot of money that I don't have, frankly. I've got debts I still need to pay off. I'm selling things to try and pay off debts. You know, I'm poor, man.
He's poor.
I'm poor.
Anyways,
I start Patreon like all the other cool kids.
You should start a Patreon.
Nah.
But
I
anyways,
can't see me
that is the show, guys. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody. We had over 430 people watching earlier here live on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching and all the super chat and the support. We appreciate it. Thank you guys if you're watching on listening to us on iTunes or Google Play or SoundCloud. Thank you guys so much. It should be up pretty soon. Jez, what do you got going on for the rest of the week?
Well, next week I'm just going to do some roundups like my favorite games from the show. I'm also going to track down all the idea Xbox games that were announced and sort of dig into what they are and stuff for people who are interested in that. Just, random bits and pieces, tidying up after E3. And then I'm traveling back to Germany on Thursday, Rand. So there might be some disruption to the podcast next week.
All right, well, we'll
definitely
play that by ear. We'll play that by ear. Yeah, so thanks for everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the show, as always, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if this was your first time. Hit the notification bell if you always want to be notified when I drop new videos. We appreciate everybody that shows up, and we will be back next week. This was an extra long show, almost 3 hours. So I hope you enjoyed all the random judge you can get for now. So later, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Take care, everybody.